I thought you were laughing.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council this Monday, January the 8th, 2018. That's hard to say, by the way. At 7:05 p.m. Mr. Derry, would you read the roll, please?
Casey Brown.
Here.
Rob Powell.
Here.
Dr. B. Johnson is absent. Jim McDaniel.
Here.
Tim Terry.
Here.
Lance Terry. There's a quorum.
Thank you. If you would rise, please, and we will begin our meeting this evening with a prayer led by our Associate Pastor, Greenwood United Methodist Church, Doug Phillips, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Chief Will Dawson.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you so much for this beautiful town that we live in. And we ask, God, that the government that you have given us, may they be courageous. May they discern what your will is. May they continue to make this city economically prosperous, safe, and kind to one another. Lord, we pray that in these meetings, may we never forget the poor, the lost, those on the margins of our society. May we be courageous to bring them in so that nobody is left behind. We pray this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would like to ask the approval of the City Council of our minutes for our December the 5th, 2017 council meeting, and also December 14th special call council meeting.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve those minutes. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
Tim Terry.
Yes.
Lance Terry.
Thank you. There's no mileage report to report on this evening. At this time in our agenda, we are recognitions and acknowledgments. And if you may have noticed, we have quite a crowd here tonight, and we're honored to have everyone here tonight. As always, we have two very, very special groups. I'm going to, and I didn't get to visit with the gentleman here in the room about it, but we're going to delay this year that one a little bit because we have some guys coming over from the VFW, if that's okay. So what I would ask is if we, those guys in the back, and I don't know who those guys are, they look kind of scary back there, but if those gentlemen and Coach Jones would come forward. You guys can just line up in front, you betcha. I think we owe these guys a round of applause. You're probably thinking this is the girls' volleyball team, and you're wrong. I had to go through the middle of these guys 2 or 3 times back there a while ago, just coming in and out. And I got to tell you, I was a little scared. If I knew I worked around friends, I would have been very intimidated. these are some big guys. What have you been feeding these? They look a little bigger in person than they do on the field, but size doesn't matter. What these guys have accomplished and Coach Jones have accomplished this year in particular, for several last years, is just amazing. It kind of exemplifies what Greenwood is all about. I mean, I used to hear a lot that, whatever the school's doing, we got to catch up with them and try to do as good as they do. So you guys are just awesome. I know you've probably heard every good thing that can possibly be said about you, so I probably won't be able to add anything to that other than we're very, very, very proud of you, what you accomplished this year. We would be just as proud if you'd come home without that giant trophy, which I just assumed you were bringing tonight. Probably under lock and key if I was guessing. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this meeting tonight. And as I kind of joke around, but I'm serious this time because I can take all of you. You have to stay for the whole thing. Okay, so. Yeah.
I did.
Oh, you already told me, okay. But I have a proclamation that I'll read if you bear with me, and then I want Coach Jones to say a few words. But just so proud of you guys, what you've accomplished and what you stand for. I mean, being able to play football is one thing, but doing it as you do it as gentlemen on the field and the sportsmanship that you show, and I know you do, because I know Coach Jones long enough to know that that's drummed into you from the very beginning. So we're very proud of you. A proclamation on behalf of the City of Greenwood by His Honor the Mayor Doug Kinslow to publicly recognize the 2017 6A State Championship Greenwood Bulldogs football team. Whereas the Greenwood High School Bulldog football team defeated the Pine Bluff Zebras Friday night, December the 1st, 2017 at the historic War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock to capture the 6A State Football Championship with the final score of 52-14, invoking the Arkansas Activities Association sportsmanship rule. And whereas the Greenwood High School football team attained this prestigious achievement, displaying exemplary leadership, sportsmanship, and athletic talents, and always taking care of today. And whereas the senior class of Bulldogs, you guys raise your hand if you're senior. All right, keep it there through the whole thing. No, I'm sorry. The senior class of Bulldogs ended their high school careers with an impressive 37-2 record with 3 straight trips to the title game in Little Rock. And whereas the 2017 team of Greenwood Bulldogs completed a perfect 13-0 season, making this the 8th state title for Greenwood, including 7 and 14 years under head coach Rick Jones. And now, therefore, by the virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of the great city of Greenwood, on behalf of the city council and the citizens hereof, I, Doug Kinslow, mayor, let it be proclaimed as follows. Section 1. You gotta have a big proclamation for a big guy. So, the city of Greenwood, Arkansas hereby recognizes the exceptional dedication of the Greenwood High School football team, coaching staff, faculty, student body, and Greenwood High School administration in their commitment to sportsmanship and team effort in their quest for a state championship title, representing not only themselves, but also their parents, family members, fellow students, Sebastian County, and the great city of Greenwood on their historic and remarkable journey. Section 2. The mayor and council desires to commend the Greenwood High School football team and coaching staff for their unwavering efforts to secure the state championship title as a member of the 3A Class 6A division. Section 3, the presentation of this proclamation shall be recorded in the official minutes of the City Council of the City of Greenwood. Go Bulldogs, and always take care of today. Given under my hand and fixed with the seal of the great city of Greenwood, Arkansas, my signature and our city clerk treasurer, Charlotte Derry. So congratulations to you, gentlemen. I have one more thing for you. Go ahead. Coach, I'm giving a few of these out, and typically the question is, what does it open? Absolutely nothing. Because we're not that crazy. No, it is a symbol of the city, the key to the city of Greenwood. You 14 years ago, is that right? Stole our hearts, and you've been doing that ever since. So we present this to you. I've got to do this. Chief always shakes his head. You now have. We want to do the whole team.
No. Yeah.
The whole. Now this is scary stuff. I usually allow, like I can, right? Everybody that has one of these, or anybody that you wish to be part of it, to drive as fast as you can through the city of Greenwood. I don't know if you're joking. He's just joking, is what he said. Okay. So that is kind of a joke. And the good, if I meet it, the fact is I'm leaving town here in about 30 minutes, so no. But it really just means that the citizens, and I, humbled and proud to represent all 10,000 citizens in Greenwood, and we're all proud of you. We're very excited about what you've done, what you've accomplished. So there you are, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate this. This is my first key to the city. That's really cool. These guys, I promise you, do not need anybody to encourage them to drive any faster. But I am proud of the boys. We work, and I've told the guys this many times, we work about 12 minutes for every single play of the football season. When you consider the fact that we start practice in January and we work all the way through, hopefully through the first week of December, it is a lot of work. And our guys worked exceptionally hard. They were driven. They didn't let anything stop them. We had 2 bad experiences up in Little Rock the 2 prior years we were there. And Pine Bluff came down, scored that first touchdown, and I sort of looked around on the sideline to see if there was any bad looks in their eyes, and there weren't. They were determined, they were focused, they earned it, they played their hearts out, and I appreciate these guys so much for what they did. And also, it is awesome to be a coach in Greenwood. It's awesome to be a coach at Greenwood. We have so much community support. When we loaded the buses and headed to Little Rock, there's people all up and down the street encouraging us. We never feel like we play an away game. We always feel like we're at home because we usually have as many fans as our opponents do, and I appreciate that. And it does mean a lot. And I appreciate your support. I'm proud of our boys. They deserved it, they earned it, and thank you very much.
We need to get a good picture. What I want is you guys get down and I'm going to stand on top of you. Crowd in as much as you can. I know Dustin will take a picture. And just because I can, I'm going to be a part of it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that, Coach. Thank you.
Right.
Hey, Robert.
How you doing, Ron?
Good, how are you?
I think there's a big ball game on tonight, something about they wanted to leave, I don't know. I think we're all in the same boat, right? Anyway, and again, I apologize to you gentlemen, we're gonna, I'm just gonna blame Richard McKinney. Richard retired last month, and I would love it when I can continue to blame him for things, whether it has anything to do with his fault or not, but they're having their VFW meeting this evening across the street over there, so I'm trying to get him in over, he can kind of be a part of this, if that's okay, so we won't linger too long, he should be here shortly. We'll move on with a few things, and then the moment he gets here, we will stop what we're doing and do that, if that's okay. If that's okay with council. Okay. We will go into our committee reports at this time. South Special County Boys Girls Club, I don't think, I saw Kenny here, probably have a written, I did get to see if you have a written report, no report. Okay, if you have questions or comments, you can certainly relay those to myself and Tammy, we'll get those to Kenny. SRCA report is in the packet. This is right here, Parks Commission, I know Ms. Bell's here. Yes, ma'am.
And I would like quickly, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
To introduce our new parks director.
Absolutely.
Nathan, if you could. This is Nathan Neighbors. He's our new parks director, effective January 1st. And he's coming from Hot Springs, from Hot Springs Parks Department. We're excited to have him join us. I just wanted to introduce him.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we're going to
Okay. Absolutely well. department head meeting this morning and fared very well, although he did not bring donuts, and that's part of the deal, so we'll have to get with him on that. But I'm excited to work with him and see what's going on. Gary Grimes Consulting, and then see Gary here this evening.
Here's a report.
MAHG Construction, is Michael here? Oh. So these are going well, aren't they? I'm not delaying very good at all. Water Wastewater Commission, Mr. Raddery, I do not see him here either. Is anybody here on that? Tammy, you have one here?
There wasn't a meeting, so.
That's right, they canceled their December meeting.
So
Okay.
there's a report.
Okay. We will go right to the citizen forum. I do not, let's see, did I get the list?
No, it's still,
Ms. Tammy,
Tammy.
Tammy, would you mind bringing me the citizen forum, the sign up sheet? Thank you. And I'm going to do something right here because I was going to do it earlier and I want to take away from the Bulldogs. And so this seems like a somewhat appropriate time. Today is Elvis Presley's birthday, so I brought my blue suede shoes. If anybody wants pictures later, well, I was going to wear them and I really forgot. I was going to wear them out here and I thought, you never know. So I have my blue suede shoes. Thank you, Dustin. Just in case. If you would like a song, we could probably, I could delay it a little bit. All right, on our citizen forum, we have a sign-up sheet that we place at the back of the, or the front of the room, I guess, depending on how you look at it every month. We actually have 3 signatures on here. If you did not get to sign up on it, or if you just didn't know it, I would certainly recognize you. So at the end of these 3 folks' discussions, if you'll raise your hand, we can get you up here. What we need to have you do is come to the podium, state your name and address, and then we will hear what you have to discuss. And each, anybody that speaks has 5 minutes. It's not that we try to cut you off any shorter than we need to. We just have to allow 5 minutes so we can get everybody to talk. So I believe we have Andrea Hannah.
Mayor Kinsler, I'm going to let Mr. McKinney go first.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You betcha. Actually, Josh and I will sign up next, if that's okay.
Oh, let McKinney go.
Or you guys have it worked out?
Yeah.
Perfect. Mr. McKinney? Here, we'll go from the bottom up. How about that?
Robert McKinney, live at 3330 Oak Hackett Road. I want to commend the council for working on this alcohol ordinance and trying to get ahead of the ordinance. I know how difficult it is to write an ordinance like this, particularly considering how badly written the state laws and how Arkansas Beverage Control Commission's regulations are. I am in support of having this ordinance passed and of having a process where businesses can approach the city about selling alcohol in the city. I have some concern about the ordinance itself and how it's written. First of all, I'm sorry I haven't been here for the other meetings. I have medical appointments as council on this. I'm not sure if this ordinance is dealing with only private clubs or alcohol sales in the future if the county should ever go west. It's not clear from reading the ordinance. The language kind of goes back and forth between the two. It's not clear in the title on that, and that is confusing as I look at it. I have some very specific concerns by paragraph. One, if you look at paragraph section 4 of the ordinance, if I were coming into the city, I don't know to whom I would submit the application. And it's not clear who approves and issues the application. At one point, it talks about the city clerk will issue the permit on that, but it doesn't show if the city clerk the approval authority, in terms of, say, building permits and so on. We clearly say in our ordinances the planning department will approve and issue building permits. Here we don't say that. We do at one point say that it goes before the council in paragraph 4A, but it doesn't say what action the council takes, or everything goes in front of the council at that point. I know, and there are different rules for private clubs and liquor sales in wet counties. The council won't get involved in liquor sales in wet counties. That goes through a normal business like process, and that's part of my confusion looking at this. We look at issues, I have a lot of them. If you look at the paragraph dealing with 2,000 feet, distance between churches and schools,
I'm opposed to the use of the word church, should be places of worship, but the state uses church also.
What number is that?
That's on page 3,
Okay.
paragraph 4, subparagraph 5. On that, the state requirement is 1,000 feet. I cannot find in state law where cities are authorized to increase that. It may be allowed if the law's really bad written, but we're dealing with the state minimum requirement. And the state 2 years ago changed it from building to building to boundary to boundary. And now Arkansas Beverage Commission only changed it last year, 2016. So that, there'll be issues like that. And,
Mr. McKean,
yes,
can I address them as you go along, or do you have?
I only have 5 minutes.
Huh?
I only have 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
In paragraph J, we talk about a business plan. Subparagraph J, business plan must be submitted for a permit to be granted. We don't require this of any other business in town that I'm aware of. What's going to be done with this business plan? Is the city going to evaluate it? I would ask who in the city, who in the city has ever run a bar or a restaurant? Who's going to evaluate this business plan? Why are we requiring a business plan for this particular type of business? Something very basic. You go to section 8. That can work if it isn't working. Excuse me, you have section 18. You have section 18, paragraph A, which is private club permits. In this part of my confusion, there's no place that talks about, there's not a paragraph B in that entire section. A very specific requirement on here. We're talking here about supplemental tax in subparagraph 4 of 10% for beer and wine and 14% for mixed drinks. The state law states that cities may levy an additional fee or permit not to exceed 1/2 of the amount of fee or permit provided by the state. And the state permits are 10% for wine and beer and 4% for mixed drinks on that. So I don't know how, I wish Mr. Hamby, a lot of this will be thrown back in his lap. But I'm finding, and I have many more, but I only have 5 minutes, but there are many problems with the ordinance in terms of not flowing well, they're basically conflicts with each other, and again, reading it as a citizen, and having my wife, who's even a better reader than I am, and a professional editor, she could not tell whether we were talking about private clubs or private clubs and going wet sometime in the future. And I'd urge you to look at, keep nice and clean, a private club ordinance and a ordinance that will be in place if we ever go wet in the county. Because private clubs go away. I've talked to people in Bentonville and Brockers. Private clubs disappear if Benton County went wet. I'd also ask you to look at Benton County.
Thank you.
Benton County did this with 3 pages when they went wet.
I hate this part of my job. I have to interrupt.
That's it.
You're a little over, but that's okay. So thank you for your comments and questions. We appreciate it. It's council's will to answer or desire.
You can speak more about it when we get to it on the agenda. And I kind of made some notes, so I'll try to address your concerns when we get to that. And some of it we've already spoken about, but I'll readdress it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sam.
My name is Andrea Hannah. I'm here on behalf of Josh Niles and Game Day with the law firm of Kevin Dickey Law Partners in Fort Smith. A lot of what I have to say follows exactly upon what Mr. McKinney said, is the way that this ordinance is written, it's terribly overbroad and vague. It's very hard for a citizen or someone who's subjected, a business that's subjected to this ordinance, to know what is required of them and the timing and who it's required to. Another thing that I'd like to point out is just because he finished with the supplemental tax, you know, Fort Smith followed up to the Fort Smith ordinances regarding the same thing. And Fort Smith's supplemental tax is 5%, which follows with state law. You guys, as this ordinance is written, is sitting at 10 and 14%, which I believe is going to be unconstitutional and in violation of Arkansas state law. There are several points. One, if you look at the Planning Commission map for the city of Greenwood, there is not a location until you get to Tractor Supply Company where a restaurant could feasibly have a private club license and serve alcohol in the city of Greenwood, which is a death knell for a town the size of Greenwood when you're looking at building your tax revenue, having other companies from outside come in and bring in restaurants and businesses. I would venture to say that most of the people in this town will go to Fort Smith and eat at Red Lobster. They will go to Fort Smith and eat at Olive Garden. They will go to Fort Smith and eat at Chili's and are not offended by the fact that there's a bar there and that they serve alcohol. This is not even what Game Days is trying to do, and I'm not here just on behalf of Game Day. My children go to school here, and it behooves me to see more revenue come into this town to benefit our schools. If the ordinance is going to be set up like this to where it literally prevents anyone from coming in and opening a business and having a private liquor license, even if they go through the steps to get one, then you send a message that Greenwood is not going to be friendly to other industries coming in here, and that you're going to ordinance and administrate them to the point that it's not feasible. The $1,500 fee, annual fee, that's fine. It's not out of sight. However, if you want to make sure that they're doing things the way that they're supposed to be doing, up the annual fee, make it $2,500 or $2,000, but lower the stringency of the 1,000 feet, because you've ruled out everywhere in town. There's a church, there's a school, there's a nursing home, there's a facility, every facility on this list. If you look at the map and you map it, there's not a place that they can go and put it. I'll make sure I cover everything. So in the ordinance, I mean, just as Mr. McKinney said it, he covered it pretty well, and maybe Mr. McKinney should go to law school. But he did this. It's extremely overbroad and vague. I mean, anytime that you use the word any and all in an ordinance, you're opening yourself up to liability. And so in your definitions make it to where there's a lot of holes in them, not only for someone who's seeking a permit, but for someone who's wanting to violate it. And if it's conditional and if every single one is for review, then who determines what those standards are for the review? So if you have a business that comes in that you approve of and you want them to have a spot, and then you have another business that comes in with the same qualifications and you don't approve theirs, and you've done that without any basis, then you're randomly choosing and you're opening yourselves up to a potential lawsuit. Sorry. The 1,000 feet boundary, again, you got it, it's 2,000 feet as it's written. The statute says 1,000 feet as far as boundary to boundary, and I think if you're writing ordinances that have a more stringent law than what the state law is, then again, I think that needs to be reviewed. And like Mr. McKinney said, if you're going to have one type of business in this town issue a business plan, who's going to be qualified to review that business plan, and what are the qualifications and standards for approving it? So at what point do you determine this is a good business plan or this is not, and who's to determine that? Let's see. And again, supplemental privilege fee, the supplemental beverage tax, you guys have it on here, it's written as 14 and 10%. You go 7 miles north and you're in Fort Smith and they're at 5%. There's not a basis for bringing that up except for to say that we don't want any business in Greenwood. We don't want you to bring your business here. We're going to tax you to death. We're going to penalize you by fees. We're going to penalize you by making the area in which you can put your business so stringent that there's nowhere for you to be. And every other area of Greenwood is growing. Our schools are growing. There's other businesses growing. So allow people to come in, allow businesses to come in and service this town and have that revenue. I'm sure that the streets department, the water department, the police department would not complain about having that type of revenue come in for them. I think that's it, and I think at the end of the day, Mr. Knoll would like to see his ordinance, or his request for the ordinance to seek a license for Game Day to be placed back on the ballot for next month and to be reviewed based on what goes on with this ordinance, which really looks like a preemptive ordinance. I mean, it looks like an ordinance that is put in place just to keep everyone out. And I don't think that's the image or the heart of Greenwood, frankly. So, thank you for your
You
time.
might be wrong on that.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah, appreciate you. Mr. Niles, that signed up, or you?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, sir. Still state your name if you would. Thank you.
I wasn't going to speak at first. I believe that y'all have heard enough of me, I'll be honest with you. My name is Josh Niles, 313 Ware Road, Greenwood, Arkansas. Mr. Powell can attest to this. The 1,000 feet is actually regulates a liquor store, does not actually regulate a private club, it's physically a restaurant. The 1,000 feet is to a liquor store. So it actually doesn't regulate a restaurant, so I can pretty much just be set up right next to a church within a few hundred feet or 50 feet or whatever the situation is. My proposal is to, of course, take away the 2,000 feet or even 500 feet for a private club, as long as it is to a restaurant. And I would propose that it would be under conditional use that's looked at every 12 months. The conditional use and the fee to be at $2,500 a year. The conditional use is only rejected if basically me or another business with a private club would violate state or local law. At that point in time, I believe that they should be revoked. By setting this into path, it actually is a better way than the 2,000 feet, because what if we do a 2,000 feet and for some reason somebody could do something at 2,100 feet, but they weren't good, they didn't do good business, and they weren't good for our community. And I think that's honestly what we're all here for, is to be good for our community and do what's right. So that's what I would propose, is that it would be, the fee would be totally taken out of the ordinance. Obviously, the third reading would be pushed off till next month. We have more time to really get into this ordinance and write it up correctly. I believe that Rod has done a fantastic job digging into this. I believe, just like I stated on the first day, that somebody was here to set a standard, and I believe Rod is setting that standard. But I believe that we need to set that standard together as a community, and we need to come together, but not only to build Greenwood to a bigger and better place like we all desire, but at the same time becomes just stronger as a community. People move here for a reason, and I promise you it's not because they can't have a Bud Light. They move here because it's a good community. They still have the Bud Light at their house or whatever, okay? So they're still purchasing it. But unfortunately, the only thing we're doing is we're continuing to build the city of Fort Smith by building their parks and their streets. And I don't know about y'all, but I've taken a walk on some of their parks lately. They're pretty nice. I've taken some walks on our parks lately. They're not, okay? Our walking trail is jacked up, okay? It needs to be fixed. So like I said last time, excuse me, from sidewalks to fire trucks, this makes sense. I would ask you, and I'd like to go on record stating that to have my ordinance put back on the record, and I would like to respond today.
Thank you, Mr. Niles. Council, you want to reply?
I was just wondering if we could know if there's anything in the state law, I haven't read it, about making the guys have to come down to the local cities and apply for this deal. But is there anything in that law that says it's got to be a 6-month waiting period before you can reapply? I don't know how that,
Me and Ms. Hannah, we read the law. There's nothing that states that in there. I believe that the law was put into place to make sure yahoos didn't come take it to the state. And most of y'all in here know me. I'm not a yahoo. I might get a little emotional, sometimes a little passionate about things. I don't care if I have to stand here every month for the rest of eternity and help build this community. That's what I'm here for, okay? And if I have to run for city council this next year, then folks, I'm just going to join you, okay? I love each and every one of you, okay? I'm a kind person, a loving person, okay? But if it takes me sitting on the city council and using my intellect, then it is what it is, and I'll be there. That y'all are all beautiful people, kind people, loving people, and you're all smart people. But let's use our brain and do the right thing.
Tim, that would be item new business number 8. When you decide what can be brought back, when, who can propose it. And we're required by state law to do it every January to organize the governing body.
I would just assume that,
You're talking about the state.
I would assume that the state law that was
put into effect where the folks had to come apply to the city before they can go speak to Little Rock, I would have just assumed they had something in their law that says if they're turned down at the city level, they have to wait a certain amount of time before they can reapply.
And if they leave that to the city, so if the city doesn't mind breaking an ordinance up every month, they can. The city.
From the same people that keep.
It's up to the city, and that's up to what we do in adopting the 2018 procedure rules.
It's 6 months of the state, or 3 months.
If you're turned down by the alcohol beverage control when you try to apply,
I don't know about it.
that's what I'm saying. There is a waiting period before you can go back down there, before you can, in the old way that it was done. There was a waiting period before you could reapply. I don't know, 6 months, 4 years, whatever.
I don't know what that is.
But I just would have assumed that the state legislature all there with.
Ms. Ann, later.
I think that's a state issue, and this is a city issue, and I'm not turned down by the state, I'm turned down by the city. And in addition, if you did make that an ordinance, unfortunately, it would reflect on me going before the council again and getting denied, because your ordinance actually comes into effect thereafter, so it has no bearing on me applying before, because your ordinance goes into effect, so it still allows me to come before you again and actually have the ordinance put back onto your agenda, and then at that point in time, you would deny me. So unless you would put it back on your agenda and deny me at that point in time, we can come back here every month for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I need to read about why the state law is the way it is, because I just can't believe there's not anything in it that says if said applicants are turned down at the local level, they have to wait a period of 6 months or something to reapply. I just can't imagine nothing like that in there.
Well, and I think what he's saying is that obviously if the state required, I mean, he could, even if he was turned down, if you approved and he went and turned down by the state, you have to come back, if I remember correctly, and get council approval again to apply. Is that close?
To my knowledge, and
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you, if the state turned me down, I probably just need to walk away.
Right,
okay?
right.
I mean,
But
that's
I
just.
guess my point is that if this council, anyway.
I think the smartest thing to do, and I think Rod would probably actually agree with me, is to put this on the agenda for the month of March, giving us plenty of time to go back and actually take care of the alcohol ordinance and get all the language correctly, with that, the way the city is not actually open for any type of litigation, okay? And if, in March, when we actually put it back on the agenda, if you make the decision at that point in time to vote it down no again, at that point in time, and then you want a time of, if I can come back in 6 months or 9 months or whatever the situation is, but let's at least make the intelligent decision of putting it back on the agenda for the month of March, and giving us time to actually put this alcohol ordinance together in the correct language.
And to clarify, he's not been turned down by the state.
Right, no, I know,
Everything is
yes.
stopped right here.
Yes, absolutely. Ms. McKinney, did you have, I mean, I don't want to get into too much.
The state law here,
Why don't we just do agenda additions and go straight into it? It's number one on the list.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, I've got the wrong way, I've got the state law here on the private club, like.
Mr. McKinney, if you don't mind, it's number one, right after we do. agenda.
Yeah, if that's what you want, if the council desires to add it to the agenda, is that what you want to do? Well, I'm sorry, not add it, but yes, okay. We can do that. All right,
I still need a clear answer, yes or no, that you're going to put on the agenda. I need that right, please.
well, that's.
So like you reapply for your permit,
To put the ordinance back on.
the one for your business. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that had not known or forgot maybe to sign up at this time, we will allow you to speak on any subject. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. And I don't see Mr. Kenny here yet. I'm so sorry to delay you.
It takes a long time for them to move over here.
I know. He said 7:30, so. Is Mr. Simon back there? Would you check on that for me? If he's not going to be able to come, we'll get into this, because I sure don't want to delay these gentlemen. Appreciate them coming. Am I the only one cold? Thank you. Oh, did you have something else that you needed to say? Oh, okay. So we are at agenda additions. And we will entertain the agenda additions. We have some that took place this morning at our department head meeting. So if you would, council number 10 will be municipal league resolution. I can't read my writing. Opioids, thank you. And then number 11 would be water wastewater audits. Exit. 2016. Yep. And then number 12 would be the retirement investment changes.
And I would ask that that be shot straight to the front. I mean, even maybe before the alcohol list, because Ann Kendra is here, our
Okay.
investment professional. She needs to help me with reasons
Okay.
with y'all for that. I don't know.
Council, you okay with that? So that's number 1, and everything else will drop down. Yes, I think so. Okay, everybody good? All right, let's start with Ms. Ann.
I'm sorry, yes. Well, the retirement committee, and you're better at this than me.
I can do it faster.
Okay, good.
Okay. I think most of you should have either 2 pages or, did you say copy? Something like that. Just to give you some background, the retirement committee has been meeting regularly. The city has been with a Boyer retirement plan for 15, 16 years.
Since, yeah, 2005.
2005. And FOIA, for a variety of reasons, has become very difficult as far as service, and that was the primary reason that we began to look. We looked and settled on a presentation from Lincoln Financial, which are the 2 sets of numbers that you see before you. The comparison between the 2, basically, the city employees have 2 different retirement plans. One is participatory, one is solely contributed to by the city. The contributory plan, which an employee would be similar to any 401ks that you might have in your own employer. That plan for the city employees is the smaller of the 2 plans considerably. It's been priced very high because it's a little bit of an unusual plan, and Boyd priced it separately. Lincoln Financial has agreed to price everything together, even though, of course, legally we still maintain the 2 separate plans. But Lincoln will price them together, which leads to substantial savings for the city on the city retirement plan. The only drawback, I will tell you, because we're going to look at numbers that will show you across the board, Lincoln Financial is less expensive. All things being equal, and I think your Councilman A.C. Brown can certainly back me up on this, these companies are all roughly equivalent in their ability to earn a good return for the city employees. It's not like we're going from a really good company to a really bad company. There are many very good ones out there. The single biggest difference is cost to the city and cost to the employee. The only exception is that FOIA has grandfathered about $500,000 in assets. Charlotte, I don't have that number in front of me. Yes, about $500,000 in assets. And for several years, throughout the last 6 years, they've paid a consistent 3% closing of that amount. Anybody that's invested money in the last 5 to 6 years is well aware of the fact that 3% is far better than you could earn anywhere else. And the city had the good fortune through its retirement committee to be invested heavily into that stable value cash account. So they earned a good 3%. FOIA, for financial reasons, has gone back and undone that account, but they did grandfather the $500,000 in assets. That $500,000 is the only advantage that FOIA has. The rate that Lincoln will pay on that is 2.5%. So you lose 0.5% on $500,000. Outside of that, the numbers across the board pretty clearly point to Lincoln. If you look at either the back of the page or the second page, one of the numbers on it,
Hopefully I can make it clear fairly simply. If you go across the top, you see Boya and Lincoln broken down with total fees. And then you see it's the new fixed accounts that come in, the new money coming in, the frozen account. And 5-year average investment returns were numbers that were provided to us, were identical investments. I put that in there again. There's not that big a difference, a little over a 0.5% difference. On any 5-year period, either company could be the higher of the two. But in general, you'll see that on an annual basis, there's a little over $3,400 difference in fees. If you look down below that, the savings over years 1 through 5, the savings vary in the first 5 years because Lincoln agrees to pay the third-party administrator fees for the first 5 years, which yields about yields exactly a $5,000 benefit to the city. And that's pretty substantial. It allows the year 1 savings to be a little over $11,000. Same with year 2. Year 3 is $11,120. Year 4 is $11,370. Year 5 it drops because the $5,000 begins to taper off. Long story short, it's a significant savings for the city as well as for the employees. I expect that earnings would be generally the same, better in any given year. We did discuss it in detail with Tom Marsh, and the retirement committee looked at it quite a while. This is not something that is a typical plan change. I want particularly AC to be aware of this, as well as anybody else might know anything about the finance world. This is not something where anybody gets paid anything up front. It's not there's no incentive for anybody to move this other than to do something good for the city of Greenwood. So that is why we did it. I realize that the numbers are not put anybody to sleep. I hope that I can summarize it by saying the intention is to save the city money. Everything that is saved in this particular instance goes back into the plan as earnings going to the city or the employees. So every penny of that $11,000 goes back to one of these guys one way or another. Any questions?
Just want to say,
Charlotte gets in trouble.
I just want to say that we went ahead to do it, and then I asked her to put it on hold so that we could notify you all. We're not required to, but I just wanted you to know that, it's a big change, and hopefully it's real positive. So we just want to let you know.
Looked at it as very administrative, but yes, obviously, I'm charged with finance and things like that, so make sure
Thank you
it's
so much.
You're welcome. And administratively, it should be very simple, and they have told their work. I mean, that first package, a series of signatures and a voided check. And that should be that, and since us, we should have that.
We're safe to go forward.
Okay.
The Friday firm, retirement attorney confirmed to me that there's no instrument of adoption by the council. This is purely an administrative retirement.
Okay. But we did want y'all to know.
Did you have questions? And I keep looking at you, AC, I know who that
Yes, I
is.
see.
They might, but I know you're in business.
Well, I didn't know if this was, they were, looking at a switch, I didn't know if this were, other, advisors such as myself or anybody else here in town or would like to.
That's a good point.
Sounds fair.
Completely, if you want to amend anything, just,
Well, I believe when the retirement committee selects or stays with their investment professional that is advising them, they go with what their recommendation is. But I don't believe there's any requirement for the committee to search high and low unless they want to.
And it falls back, we talk about it being administrative, yes, but the committee, I rely on that finance committee, obviously, for their input, so, if you'd like for us to accept or move on, if you'd like for us to do that, we can check with the finance committee, the retirement committee.
Well,
Todd, do you have any thoughts on this? I'm just pointing at you because you're the new guy, I love doing that.
Yeah, I think we've already taken the step to accept it, so it's already done. We actually, that ball is already rolling. So. But you're right, you look at her to be the one that does her due diligence and advises us on which way we should be looking for the best bang for the buck. And that's the one that we look for. We looked at the cost, but not only the cost, but the administrative side of it too. So, we didn't want a lengthy, long, drawn-out change process if it wasn't going to save us any money and headaches in the long run.
Well, I guess I was, Ann, I was just wondering, are you still affiliated with Farmers Bank? Or?
I still work for the company that provides services there, but my office grew too. I have too many people to fit in over there. I have 2 junior advisors coming in, so we took office space over on Violet Farm on 70 here.
71. Okay. So you're just, and you're not affiliated really through Farmers Bank?
Not through farmers.
Okay. Well, I think, I mean, I thought, again, one of the things is we were kind of looking at, I guess, local representation when we could. We got for, again, affiliation, again, to help locally. And I think, again, that should be, looked at as well. I don't know if the retirement committee was, aware of her, change of location or not.
I'm going to look into the retirement committee sort of regulations. I've got to delve into those and see just how that committee, what their authority is, what they're over, so I'll take a look at that and let you know.
And for what it's worth, the AC knows as well as I do that anybody can come present a plan at any time.
Oh, yes, we sure can.
Nobody's married to.
No, that's right.
Not a voting member on it.
Or am I?
Nor mine.
We'll do that, as the administrator, we'll do just that. We'll kind of get tomorrow in Charlotte, we'll check into those guidelines.
I'll check into it.
That work? Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. I know you spent a lot of time. Thank you. Okay, without further ado, and I apologize again to these gentlemen for delaying. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We had one group of gentlemen that were here earlier this evening. As you saw, our football team, we're so proud of those guys. And I'm not a speech guy, although I like to talk, as you all know. Who said that? Who's laughing, Dan? But the gentlemen that are here in the middle of our crowd here this evening, and it's easy to tell who they are and what they represent. I just got to thinking about all the process that we just went through. We covered a lot of things just now in the last hour. One, we recognized the football team that has won championships, 8 championships, at the highest level of their ability, I guess. And we talked about business. We passed some things, we approved some things, we discussed things, and we've allowed citizens to come forward with their thoughts on different topics, which is all American. You can't get any more American than that. I mean, that is the American way. And we, and those folks that have spoken tonight, and those folks that have been recognized tonight, would not be able to do that. Would not even have a chance to do that. You would not have been able to walk under a sign in the foyer that says, "In God we trust," if it not for the gentlemen that are here tonight. And there is no words that I can come up with, certainly. Many words have been spoken and speeches have been given, but there's nothing that I can say that could be mean anything more to the fact that these gentlemen did what they did for us to allow us those privileges. And many, if not all, I believe are all Purple Heart recipients, if I'm correct. And I know you, sir, are a 3-time, I believe, Purple Heart recipient, so we are, many other things. And I paused doing this here just a little bit to get Mr. McKinney over. Richard just retired from the city as Parks Director, but he is not going anywhere, and we're not letting him go anywhere. And he is the commander of the local DFW post. And I know our chaplain is here too, Ms. Tanya, who is our Chamber of Commerce Director. So if I talk too much, I'll start tearing up and you won't be able to understand a word I say. So I'm not going to say a whole lot other than we are honored beyond words this evening to have these gentlemen and the lovely Miss here with us this evening too. It was kind of happened here a couple of weeks ago. Former Senator Ed Wilkinson called and said that he had been talking to Mr. Fry, about Greenwood becoming a Purple Heart no-brainer for Greenwood to do that. We want to recognize that. We want to be a Purple Heart community. I have a resolution or proclamation here this evening, and we will go through the process of it. But we want to do anything and everything that we can to honor these gentlemen that have done what they've done for our country and for us. And so, again, I'm rambling now because I have no other words to say, but I would like to introduce the gentlemen that are here tonight. Mr. Jim Fry is the commander of 587. Joe McGuire, if you'll just kind of toss your hand up. Bob Boyle. And I got to tell you, when I was being introduced to these gentlemen, there's no lack of humor in these guys. They like to pick on each other. When they came to Mr. Boyle, I won't say who, but somebody says it's not, there's no S on it. So it's, anyway, so they have fun. Robert Ducker, Jimmy Simmons, Chuck Adkins is the state commander right here, and Carter Ferguson. So if you guys, I hate to ask you to come and stand before, but if you would, that would be, we would be honored if you would do that. Again, thank you so much for being here. We are honored to have you here with us, for sure. And absolutely, would you like to do that before I read the proclamation? Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Purple Heart is a United States military decoration awarded in the name of the President to who's wounded or killed while serving in the U.S. military on or after April the 5th, 1917. Its forerunner was a Badge of Merit, which was established by General George Washington in 1782. It took the form of a heart made of purple cloth. The award fell in disuse until after World War II, when it was revived by Congress in 1932. Using George Washington's Badge of Merit as a basis, a redesigned medal in the form of a heart was approved to be issued to those wounded and killed in combat on the 20th anniversary of George Washington's birthday. General Douglas MacArthur was the first recipient of this medal. The Purple Heart is the oldest military award still given to U.S. military members. The organization known as the Military Order of Purple Hearts was formed and chartered by Congress in 1932 for the protection and mutual interest of all who have received the decoration. Composed exclusively of Purple Heart recipients, it is the only veteran service organization comprised strictly of combat wounded veterans. Over the past several years, the MOPH has generated a program proclaiming cities, counties, and other entities as Purple Heart cities to honor those service members from across America who shed their blood or gave their lives in service of our nation to protect the freedom we all enjoy. Our purpose here today is to proclaim Greenwood, Arkansas, a Purple Heart city. At this time, I would ask Mayor Kinslow to read the proclamation, after which time we will present the flag.
Proclamation on behalf of the city of Greenwood by His Honor Mayor Doug Kinslow to publicly recognize, whereas the citizens of Greenwood have great admiration and gratitude for the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use and was initially created as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat. And whereas the city of Greenwood appreciates the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms and acknowledges those men and women for their courage by showing our support and our honor. Now therefore, I, Doug Kinslow, Mayor of the great city of Greenwood, do hereby proclaim the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, our Purple Heart city. Given under my hand and fixed with the seal of the great city of Greenwood, Arkansas, Mayor Doug Kinslow, and also signed by our city clerk treasurer Charlotte area, so.
And on behalf of Chapter 587 in the Department of Arkansas, we're now playing Purple Heart City on January 8th, Greenwood, Arkansas.
That's awesome. You can make it. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Another one. Again, thank you, gentlemen, so much. This is truly, this is awesome. I know that's kind of a used up word, but this is awesome, and this is all because of what you've done for us. We would not have the ability, as I mentioned tonight, to be here or to do anything that we're doing without a gentleman like you. We honor you. Thank you so much for what you've done for our country. Thank you so much. I don't think you can clap enough.
We'll try. We're pretty full, but thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for being here and staying. You have to stay the rest of the time. Everybody's leaving now. I got people speaking their head. Doesn't get any better than that, if I may say so. That's as good as it gets. So, okay, we will continue on with the meeting. If I'm not mistaken, we are on number 2. Mr. Powell, with ordinance establishing permitting process for alcohol sales, third reading.
Number 1.
Well, we moved it.
Okay.
We already got number 1, so you're number 2 now. Sorry.
All right. All right, council passed out, everybody got one, right? And with that, stapled to it was some, from the from the Economic Development Committee meeting. It was some of their minutes and concerns they shared with me on email this morning. So I printed it off and attached it to your copy. But first, I'd like to get into, I have one clerical thing I'd like to make, and then I'll start addressing Mr. McKinney's comments and all that. Or we could go into, well, let me do that. I've got a clerical thing that's kind of glaring that I'd like to do. If y'all will turn to section 4 on A. You'll know I caught, this is 98% a cut and paste from Conway's ordinance. And their ordinance was actually written before the state law changed. So if you'll go down to where it says the $1,500 fee, I want to strike that everything past that, where it says and a copy of the applicant's state permit, because that would be incorrect. They come to us before they go to and receive a state permit. So there'd be a period after fee, and then strike and a copy of the applicant's state permit. All right. Now
Are you believing, Rod, that
No city permit will be issued until applicant has received a state permit? No.
Let's see.
We issue our permit
Yes.
first. So that whole sentence is struck.
Before we do that, I think the reason that's in there is because you want a copy of what they're going to present to the ABC, and that's what that is, so we may need to just say a copy of
Let's
this.
clarify.
Yeah.
I was about to
Because
ask
we
that
need it.
question.
We need, y'all need to see that.
Because I
We
think
need
that
the paperwork.
addresses the business plan. Whatever you're required to give to the state, we're asking you to give us as well.
Yes. So if we take that out, then they don't
That's
have
where
to
the
show you.
business plan came from and
And
all
let's,
that.
right after state, let's put the proposed permit. We want to see that.
Did you say their proposed permit or their proposed application for permit?
Proposed application.
Proposed application for permit. That would clarify.
So don't strike it, just put proposed state permit.
Proposed application for permit.
Yes, application.
That'll address the economic development committees. They saw it as well. They thought it was a little ambiguous. They're item 2. Okay, I'm gonna back up and address some of Mr. McKinney's comments.
But let me clarify one thing on that.
Okay.
The last sentence, no city permit will be issued until applicant has received the state permit. True?
True.
I mean, conceivably, we could say, we approve it, issue you a permit, and you're denied at the state level.
You're not issuing a permit, all you're doing is just giving them.
So we're not doing, our approval isn't a permit.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
It's allowing them to apply for a permit.
That's correct.
So we don't need that sentence.
And then once they go to the state says you're allowed to have a permit, then they gotta come back up here and to make sure what they meet all of our tax requirements.
That's correct.
Can I introduce something here? I'm looking at the state law here now. It talks about the permit application being submitted to the state, and the director of the State Alcohol Beverage Commission then approaches the city to let you know that a permit has been applied for your city, and the city then has 30 days to respond to that. So this whole paragraph we're talking about doesn't seem to match the state law.
Are you reading current state law? It changed in August. And that's why we're here.
I'm reading what's on their website, which again.
I don't think that's correct, because I've talked in depth with Michael Harry, who is the head legal counsel for ABC, and it requires a resolution from us,
An ordinance.
an ordinance from us authorizing the approval for the permit process before they can even apply for a permit before the ABC.
Okay, and as I said, the ABC website.
And I prepared the very first ordinance in the state of Arkansas dealing with that, and I've had several cities that have called me since then copying. I've prepared because ABC said that was acceptable to them.
What he may be referring to is that it does require, it requires the person seeking to publish once a week for 4 weeks, and that may be what he is referring to as well. It doesn't require them to provide a copy of the application to the city.
No, as I'm reading it, but there may be something else out there.
After we go through, let me address all theirs. I'll start at the top and we'll go back through it, because they have not been, at least Ms. Hannah and Mr. McKinney have not been part of the process. So I'll start at the top and we'll go back through, because a lot of their comments we've addressed during the process. After that, I'd like to go and take a look at the distance and have a discussion on the distance. And then when we come to some determination, whatever changes we've made, I'd like to make a motion to table it for 30 days. Arkansas Municipal League will be in town this week. I'd like to take it back to Don Zimmerman, let him review it all, if he needs the rest of the month. I don't see any hurry. We don't have anybody in front of us. And then we'll put it back on for third reading. I'll make a motion that we table the third reading for 30 days. I'll most likely send a copy to Michael Harry with ABC. Most likely we'll reach out to my friend Jason Carter That used to be at the city of North Little Rock, he's retired now. So, let me go in and start with Mr. McKinney and Miss Hannah and Mr. Niles. So, Mr. McKinney, so at the top, where it says an ordinance is stamped, and what we've done is we're laying out the process, the permitting process, the fee structure, and the taxation structure for an applicant. And we're trying to give an applicant throughout the document the best chances of being approved when they come before us.
And let me, base point, for private clubs.
For private clubs.
Private clubs only.
I'm going to, you brought something up about it may be just a little confusing in the title. This title, I went through it line by line, word for word with Don Zimmerman, the Arkansas Municipal League. He's going to be our defense. I'll bring that back up to him this week when I see him, or I'll...
And this isn't so much of the big question here, it's, going back to my Army standards, is this easily understandable in one reading?
I don't think anything lawyers write is easily
And I know,
understandable.
and I that's why I'm trying to push it here.
And that's why we went through it. In fact, when I called him, I said, my full intent is to pass the taxation at the state max. And we went through, he pulled out the book, and we went through it, and he said, this is the state max, 14% on mixed drinks and 10% on beer. So we went through the title word by word, and then that's it. Now, this was done on the phone. I would like for him to look at the entire document as we've gone through the process. Now, the document itself was copied off of the City of Conway's private club permit. Now, that was before the law changed, and that's what I was just clarifying that one spot. It stood for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Conway's a little bit like us. They're dry county, dry town.
I would suggest maybe that in section 1A and applicability, that serving, dispensing any drug beverage in a private club within the city of Greenwood. That takes the podium on that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
That would not change.
In applicability?
Yeah.
In A?
In A. Where it says any controlled beverage within the city of Greenwood, any controlled beverage in a private club within the city of Greenwood, and that makes it immediately clear.
Well, I like that.
You're gonna add that the title to the title.
Just leave the title alone if that's been, if you run that by the experts. I still have some questions on the taxes on that.
I think
Okay.
if you're gonna put it in there, I think it needs to be in the title, because we often search for things by titles and.
Okay.
Well, I asked that last month, and I mean, I want to be real clear whether we're talking about a restaurant or a liquor store.
I must add it in the title.
And,
Well,
because you got this liquor by the drink, you got private clubs, you got all these things, and I want to be clear what we're talking about.
I would have one more question too. Would you also, what's the applicability to at some point allowing convenience stores to sell beer and wine?
we can't do that. I mean, not we, the governing body.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
We
now,
can't control that.
Right, now, there may be a referendum in the county, and, people come and vote and change the county wet, but we can't do that. This is the only thing we can do, is establish the permitting process and the fee structure and the taxation for private clubs only. Now, if the county were to go wet, then we can turn around and put taxation on that too, which is different than the private clubs. So that's,
We're talking about on-premise consumption. Is that, when they talk about on-premise consumption, is there a difference there in a private club or something else within the state statutes?
well, you can also
Did I
have
say that right?
liquor by the drink, which would take a vote of the people. It would be something that we cannot do as
I mean,
well.
what is the difference in liquor by the drink in a private club?
I do not know.
Well, and the Arkansas laws are so ridiculous on that. You may remember you can have private clubs in which you can sell, I guess you can limit to hard drinks or you can get beer and wine within the private club, make those specifications on that and their permit fee. If the county goes wet, it depends on how it goes wet. Fort Smith has had a number of votes over the years, like permitting mixed drinks, hard liquor, sales on Sundays, and so on. Each of those have been separate votes by the people on that. So it's a big leap from private clubs, which requires no vote of the people, of which the state allows counties and municipalities to regulate to some degree.
The liquor by the drink too got into the Sunday, so,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And that's private club too, so you were saying before that if the county were to turn wet, this is a moot document, and it is not. And if you go to Morrilton, which is a wet county, wet town, people still apply for private club license so they can sell alcohol on Sundays. So if there's a Super Bowl game on, so this is still a good document, even if the citizenry were to go form up and turn the county wet.
In Benton County, the private clubs all disappeared, but they went full bore, sales on Sundays, everything at one time.
Now that would be different.
And that, as opposed to doing it by degrees, I guess.
So-
That's the difference there.
Here's the point I'm trying to get at with that question. Can we, the title of this, could this document pertain to on-premise establishments, that businesses that have on-premise consumption, which therefore is private club, liquor by the drink?
I think the taxation's different. The legislation's different, and I think the taxation within the legislation's different from what I've read. There again, lawyers write this stuff very confusing, and I don't understand it, but we can ask.
Because the other side of that coin is, if we go through all of this for a private club,
And then somebody were to turn,
and somebody walks up and says, well, I'm not a private club, this is liquor by the drink. Well, what does that mean?
that's gonna take a vote.
You know what I'm saying?
It's populous.
That's all controlled by state,
That's correct.
not us.
That's correct.
And that doesn't have to go through us.
That's correct. At least right now.
For now.
So, I like Mr. McKinney's point, and your point. Let's go ahead and insert private club in the title. So, people looking at this in a few years realize this is for private club.
By a business license by the state as a private club to sell alcoholic beverages. Third sentence.
Say that again. Let me insert
Maybe
it.
sell alcoholic beverages as a private club?
What I was saying on that sentence, by businesses licensed by the state as a private club to sell alcoholic beverages.
Okay. Charlotte, did you get that?
Yes.
Three to nothing, Georgia.
Okay. All right, Mr. McKinney, I think we kind of skipped the rest of that page. Section 4 on page 2.
I'm sorry, I got lost too, though. In section 1A, we're going to still further say the applicability is in a private club as well. We say controlled beverage in a private club within the city of Greenwood.
Section 1A, Roddy, you put it in the title.
I think if you put it in the title, you've addressed it at 1A.
Okay.
The second sentence where it says controlled beverage in a private club within the city of Greenwood.
Yeah, if we put it in there, I think you're good for 1A.
Okay,
You're good for 1A.
all right.
If we leave it.
But you're gonna put it in the title, not section one.
Not section 1A. We're just putting it in the top. All right, Mr. McKinney brought up in section 4, he didn't know where it's to be submitted. So maybe we need to clarify it's submitted to the city clerk, or who are we submitting it to?
Well, if you'll remember, I had in there, water office, because that's where they're gonna pay for this thing. And,
That's where the money goes.
Yeah,
Is this where we had that discussion that we don't want to go?
but, I mean, they can't just come up there and walk it up there and.
Anyone wanting to put something on our agenda though? If anyone's asking to have something on our agenda for a vote, they go through the city clerk.
Yes, the procedural rules say that currently, and we can change them, if it's on there tonight, that a city official has to put it on there, but I'm really not included in that, it's the city councilman or department head. You can add me in there and
You're
all
not.
that. I know, but I'm not named in there, so that it adds to the agenda.
Well, we can name her in there.
Fix that.
If you'd
And
like to
that'll
change
fix
that.
that.
But I mean, if any citizen came and said, I want whatever on the agenda, whatever the subject is,
We're gonna have a lot of stuff on her.
but we would say, you know, if they came through that door out there during the normal course of business, we'll go see the city clerk, and she'll take it down, and tell you what you're gonna have to have.
And usually if it's something outside of something like this, I just like, comes to citizens forum, you know.
Well, at 8, when we get to 8, we can put that in our organization that you will place permits on and then leave it out. If you don't want a garage, you.
If they're plan to me, I put it on the agenda, you see it, you address it then. That's how.
I'll just address it in our May.
Whether it's complete or not, you review it and you say.
Okay, so here's my suggestion. On 4A, application for a permit required by this section shall be presented to the city clerk in writing on blah, 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 blah.
Can I make a suggestion for all of 4A? It'd be much helpful if you had it laid up of, here's the application process, step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and what those are. So you kind of start that in A, then you go off in B and wander into unlawful statements, and you never come back to, I mean, what is the process? I come in with my application and check $1,500. Who do I hand that to? What does that person want to do with it? When does it get put on the agenda? Does it, and now knowing it's private public, we'll have to come in front of the city council for approval. How many, at the next meeting, within 60 days? I mean, what are the steps that I go through and I know what I expect? Because there's some confusion if you jump forward to 8. It talks about fees being paid 2 weeks from the date of the delivery of the permit of the application to the city.
Where was that? I'm sorry.
Before 8A, you spend $1,500 worth. If you look at 8A, and maybe that's the permit and not the application, but the word application is used in there too. All permits must be maintained and fees not paid later than 2 weeks from the date of delivery of the application. I'm not
Keep reading that sentence.
Yeah. And if so not obtained, the insurance granted by the city shall lapse.
That's after the fact. That's the renewal process.
Right.
So that's the issuance of the permit. And if you make, again, I'm coming at this, I haven't sat in on your meeting, so I'm trying to understand from reading the document in front of me
We're glad to hear on the third reading.
on that. I have medical appointments those days. But this is, I mean, it's what we call, I'm giving it the idiot test. I'm being the idiot here, having not sat in on meetings and trying to read it and understand it.
Which 8B also tells you that the permit is issued by the city clerk treasurer. For that matter.
Right.
You know, I think section 8, though, you could probably say issuance or renewal of permit.
I think we ought to add that, issuance or renewal.
And that's why, do the step 1, 2, whatever, the actual process.
So your concern is more of the scattered
Yeah.
information, not the information not necessarily there, it's just not all easy read, as you said.
Yeah.
When we should say section 4 is application process for permits.
So, I'm getting saying here, we now say we apply to the city clerk and said the clerk issues permit, but somewhere in between there is the, if approved, once approved by the vote of the city council. And that's kind of implied, but it's not specifically stated. And if I were a business owner, I'd also like to see at the next council meeting, this will be voted on.
Well, it depends on when they're turning it in, which depends on how we organize our business structure. And item 8 on our agenda tonight, every January we organize our.
It's better within time frame of that.
You stayed at the next council meeting, somebody turned in the day before, we can't even get our own stuff on the day before. So.
Yeah, but they probably language for that, but they're.
And we don't want to put anything in here because it changes from every January to every January. We possibly may change it tonight.
In accordance with the existing.
We can put it in accordance with the existing
guidelines.
Procedural rules.
Right.
Which is what we call them. We'll be adopting a resolution adopting 2018 procedural rules, so we could add that.
And that would give our business owner the confidence that it will be ready at the next appropriate meeting, and that he won't go into limbo. And the, city, a different city council could stall this for months, and hope that it goes away, so they don't have to vote on it.
Additionally, that section 4 covers so much different material. I mean, by calling it application for permits, it literally covers application for permits, the requirements, I mean, where it can't be. So,
Needs to be simplified.
I would think so.
And maybe those other items put in another spot.
Well, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, if we try to, I mean, it's a fair point that it should be in, here's the steps. That you're gonna have to do a lot of rearranging to get this,
I think that would be worth it.
which may be the thing to do. But also, at a minimum, you need to change the title, because it covers too many things here.
Well, again, my intent was to table it and look it over for some things like this, so I will, I'll get with Mr. McKinney and we'll go over section 4 between now and then.
And Rod, I would like to have gone over with you now, but I'll go to Mr. Hamby. I am so concerned about the current status of FOIA and the way it's being rolled out. I don't know if we, member of the planning commission, can meet with the city council member.
That's a good question.
Without,
I think that's dangerous, yeah.
Let me just go over to Don Zimmerman then, he's going to look at it.
If we can go through, if we were to announce a meeting, if Rod, the city council will say he's going to have a meeting of all concerned individuals at City Hall at 10 o'clock and notify the media through Charlotte, that we could meet on that. But I'm afraid even phone calls and emails now, after this last ruling.
I got burned on that, so yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Maybe me and Mr. McKinney and Dustin can have a meeting with Don.
If you want me to try to take a stab at rearranging section 4, and then just show it to everyone.
We've gone through this for months now, so best thing to do is table it.
While it's tabled.
Y'all, you took this on, so you need to rearrange stuff with Charlotte, let Don look at it, and let's bring it back, and we'll work on section 4, and let's just move on, all right?
I mean, I think if you do a public study session, you're gonna turn into.
Yeah.
melee.
Let me just rework section 4, and I'll move on. I'll have it reworked for the 3rd.
I second the motion table.
All right, Mr. McKinney, I didn't write any notes down on section 5 and 6. On section 8, we're going to put issuance or renewal of permit.
Well, section 4, if you want to go back
to section 4?
To the 2,000 feet. Now,
well, I'll discuss that. We'll get more detail here in a minute. We're just going through and address your concerns.
my issue on the business plan, I don't see anything to say for the business plan.
There is no, and this is all in addition to the state requirements. The business plan has been intentionally left ambiguous. We want to improve the business plan. This was at the suggestion of the city attorney of North Little Rock.
And it's my understanding that the business plan is to show that that they're in business other than just solely providing alcohol. So that way that signifies that they're a private bar, not a private club. And so that's really what we want to go, is that you presented a business plan to state that you are going to be primarily a restaurant and that you're going to sell alcohol in addition to the primary business of being a restaurant.
So I'm not trying to interrupt, so would you change the language in there and put that it's applicable to new applicants that are not business as of yet, but is not limited to current businesses that are already in business, therefore serving food?
We talked about this somewhere in this process, and I don't know if it's here, I don't think it's in here. But the point is, and maybe it goes in this 4A, where that's accompanied by the proposed application permit.
Right.
What we want to do is clearly state, whatever you're required to provide ABC, you need to provide it to us as well.
Exactly.
Now, what are we going to do with the business plan? What are we going to do with, I mean, I've read stuff in the ABC where you got to have a drawing of your property and where how it lays out. I mean, what are we going to do with that? Look at it, okay.
To me, you would
But I agree with what you're saying, that we should be able to see the same thing that they're going to see.
And if they change their requirements, we need to have that stated simple enough that whatever they're requiring you to bring, we're requiring you to bring the same.
We've stated that.
That's what that is, that we added a copy of the proposed application and the state permit.
We figured that, I raised the question, what is a business plan?
You can bring
I'm not seeing any restrictions on private clubs in the state law as to how much percent of their business is done as alcohol versus food.
And it'd be all in accordance with the ABC. I mean, they just check with the ABC. The ABC requires a business plan.
We're not reiterating state law. State law is going to require their food sales to be 52% or 54%. It's whatever that, these people that go out and get a permit for open carry, they state it. It's 53%, I think. They have to have 53% of food sales
For private clubs.
for private clubs.
Again, I'm looking at what's on their website, I'm not seeing that.
Is it within their application, it actually?
It's in the application form, it's not in their, okay.
How much is it, Mr. Niles?
I believe it's 54%.
54%.
Yes, sir.
So it's 54%. We're not going to reiterate state law. State law can change and then mess up our work.
So you're basically asking, again, I would ask, what's the difference between the business plan, getting a copy of the business plan, and getting a copy of the application to the state?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. If you clarify this, that it's accompanied with your proposed application and required documents for the state application. And then we can strike J.
Right.
The business plan. That can be struck. Anything specific like that can just be struck from here.
Do you all want to start, Jay?
Yeah, as long as we keep in that
Yeah, I
ordinance
think
that
we
says,
strike J.
as long as we keep in the ordinance saying applicant's proposed application for state permit.
Yeah.
Let's,
But don't leave it for guesswork.
Right.
Whatever, go ahead and just say, whatever you're required to give for your state application should be accompanied with your request here.
and you don't think
And if that's a business plan or a drawing of the parking lot or whatever that is.
and you don't think that's clear and we require them to give us what the state requires in their application?
Yeah, that's what he's saying, that's why we don't need J.
Okay.
Now,
All right, so,
I was
Jerry-
pointing out here too, you have two different business models. The state recognizes private club permits for bed and breakfasts. And the state has a different set of requirements and rules for that than they do for regular private clubs. And there's no language in here about bed and breakfasts. So I'd ask you to look at that when you're looking, because they have a different set of rules for BBs.
Are you?
How would that affect what we've got in place? that we're looking
If you're
at?
not, I would just say you might want to put in some additional language, to recognize that B&B's permits exist, and they come in with different, the taxes are different, the fees are different for B&B's.
Well, I think if we're, again, following the ABC guidelines and rules, that's gonna be there. I think if the ABC has distinguished between a bed and breakfast, that I'm
That's going
thinking.
to impact on your parts on taxes and fees later on, though.
If someone applies for a bed and breakfast, you're saying?
Yeah.
And you just go back and add an addendum at that point in time. You just go back and put it back before the council and add an addendum at that point.
Maybe a few lines that need put in here to recognize that there are differences between.
I'm gonna bring that up with
B.
I'm gonna bring that up with Don Zimmerman as well.
Well, I think that still falls in with the heading where we say licensed by the state to sell alcoholic beverages. That covers that. I mean, a bed and breakfast is not necessarily gonna be, I don't think, doing that, or they're gonna be a bed and breakfast and the restaurant.
One, it could be one without the other. Mr. Niles, you don't have the board back there tonight, do you?
Do what?
I was trying to be funny. I was trying to throw a little humor in here.
Oh, sorry.
Just trying to wake us up a little bit.
All right, so we're gonna eliminate the K, we're gonna make the K a J.
Right.
So section 5, we're still good. Section 6, we're still good. I didn't have any notes on page 4. Okay, on section 18, let's eliminate the A. Because there's no B that follows.
And so if you eliminate A, then 1, 2, 3, and 4 should be A. Is that
We
right?
can change the 1, 2, 3, and 4 to A, B, and C, and D.
Right.
Charlotte, are
Yes.
you following that?
No, section 18,
Yes,
don't just strike the A.
we're going to strike the A, turn the 1 into an A,
Gotcha.
And E,
B, C, and D.
and E.
And E.
Thank you, Tim.
Then D's gonna have 1, 2, 3.
And then B changes from A, B, and C to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. McKinney, that's all I had noted for you.
Well, here, we get into the tax, and we can, I looked what I could find online. It talks about the state law that I found, says that the state sets 10% upon the gross proceeds or gross receipts by private club for beer and wine. And it states the supplemental tax of 4% for hard liquor, mixed drinks.
I think it's addition.
In addition to the tax, yeah, that supplemental tax of 4% is levied.
Right.
Now, I'll leave that best for Hammy, is that in addition, that's 4% on top of 10%? Is that what you're understanding?
There again, Mr. McKinney, I went to it line by line with Don Zimmerman from the municipal league.
That's a hard,
And these are his figures. I asked for state max, and this is what this is it.
what about, then later on, it talks, cities located outside, any city permits an additional permit fee or supplemental tax, or both additional permit fee and supplemental tax not to exceed 1/2 of the amount of fee or rate provided in this section.
Where are you at?
Well, I'm on, this is the state law that I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
39223 BF1.
I'll go back through this one more time with him, but he's the one that set the taxation language. This is his language, not mine.
But the language
This is
that
our
matches the state law then. But you're saying, you're putting a 28% tax
That's correct.
on hard liquor served in a pub in Greenwood.
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, and what I'm reading here is not to exceed 1/2 of the amount of the fee or rate provided by the state.
Yeah, Mr. McKinney, it's you know, this is
Yeah.
Don Zimmerman.
And that's all I want. This is bad, the state law is bad.
I'll go back through it with you one more time. Again, the Arkansas Municipal League will be in Fort Smith this week, so I'll go back through it one more time to make sure we're clear. I'll go in and clear up that, try to clear up the ambiguity in section 4. And we'll make sure that it all makes sense, because Mr. Hamby and him will be the one defending it.
Yeah. And that would apply to the $1,500, we're doing, the state does $1,500 fee. Or can we do $750 or can we do $1,500?
We could. We could.
As Mr. Zimmerman explains it, unless the law has changed. And again, Googling this on is horrible. And the ABC's website.
I have $1,500 in there, but yes, it could be something else.
And I'm nitpicking here, but this is concerned that the city doesn't get out over its skis on it and we end up in court with it.
Well, again, I'm gonna take it to Don Zimmerman this week, and we're gonna go through the language and make sure, because I spoke with him in bits and pieces, and it was over the phone. And I think at this point, now that we have the will of the governing body and it's written in a document, that I'll take it to him and he'll go through it. And Mr. Hamby will do the same. And again, because once we pass it, they're the guys that are going to be defending it. And so,
well, like the municipal league lawyers look at to do more than Mr. Zimmerman.
Yeah, they're gonna let Mr. Zimmerman, and then I have a convention at the end of January, and I'll sit down with Mark Hayes and, the actual term review with him as well.
Yeah. Now, okay. Do you want to go back on the distance issue?
I'm going to address it. I think the distance issue is going to take a longer conversation. I've got some stuff prepared for the council, but I was just wanting to address all the rest of your concerns, so to get all that out of the way.
Well, can I say this too? I think, I don't know if it's Mr. McKinney, someone asked earlier about, you know, what happens if somebody comes here and we change and we issue a permit for one person and not for another, or, you know, whatever. There was some language in here about that in past, as we've gone through this, and we took it out. I mean, look, we want to end with it. We don't want to do that. But that's not what we want to do, because that's an obvious can of worms that you issue to one person and not the next, and you better have to, you know, now you're just making stuff up. So we would like to end with a document that says, you got to comply with the document. We don't want to make, now what anybody sitting on this bench 5 years from now does is beyond our control, but we don't want to make arbitrary changes depending on who's standing here.
Very easy to understand process, and someone can come out of the field and just got a fair hearing.
Yeah.
Ms. Hannah, besides the distance, which we'll get into in a minute, was there anything?
I think we've covered, hang on a second. As long as you lay out specifically, I mean, because when you say to pay the city of Greenwood, I mean, as long as you make that so specific as to, that they know exactly who they're paying, who the fees go to, who the application goes to. I mean, because walking in and handing it to the water department, I don't think is a feasible option from where I'm sitting. So,
Beverages.
but I did have a question. I mean, you've gone over the taxes, and it's very clear that you intend to tax it at the very highest rate possible. But what's your basis for that? Why, when Fort Smith is adding a 5% supplemental tax to it, are you adding the state max?
Well,
it just looks like a deterrent.
I don't think
Similar to 2,000 feet.
I don't think it will deter anyone. And I think if we're going to go down this road, we need to make money off of it. I think, you know, they come up and say, well, all the money's going down the road. Well, if we're going to have these type of facilities, type of restaurants here, then I think we should make money.
And what type of restaurant is that, like a Chili's or an Olive Garden? Because I can tell you, some of those restaurants would like to move into Greenwood, and this right here is what is preventing them.
I don't think taxation or fees are what preventing it, especially the larger chains. That's usually not a deterrent.
No, it would be the distance, would be one of the bigger deterrents.
And we'll go and talk to the distance, or, that was all
The
we
tax,
had.
the tax, yeah, well, no, it
Except for the
wasn't all that,
distance.
the tax and, you know, the additional, the 1,500, you're putting them at $3,000 in annual fees between, by the time they pay the ABC and they pay Greenwood. Again, what is your basis, other than a deterrent, to set everything at the max? The fees, the taxes, and I understand that Greenwood needs to make money off of it, they're gonna do it. But I disagree with you, and I believe that it is a deterrent to businesses and small business owners who come in and who put in the capital and the time to build a business in Greenwood. I think that it's kind of a slap in the face, frankly, to those businesses that want to locate here. So my question would be, what is the basis for setting everything at the state max?
I just don't see it as a deterrent.
And so your basis for setting it at the state max is because you don't see it as a deterrent.
Right, I do not see the taxation being a deterrent for a business wanting to relocate. I think they look at Greenwood as a place they can make money.
And I think you should probably look at Fort Smith and see what the residents are saying about the taxation that's occurring there, and get back to me on it not being a deterrent.
I mean, an alternative is we can just say no to everybody that comes, you know, without this ordinance. I mean, if we're gonna go through and put an ordinance in place that allows people to come in and operate a business, I want to make money. I want the city to benefit from this.
I agree 100%. As I told you, my children go to school here. My problem is that you're doing it at a rate that's 2 or 3 times what Fort Smith is doing it at, which appears to be a deterrent. And whether you let them come in or not.
Yeah, I don't agree that it'll be a deterrent.
You know, we certainly want a high standard, and we want to make it, you know, part of the fee discussion that we had early on was, you know, it needs to be somebody that's serious about what they're doing. I mean, we won't name names. We've had people come up, say they're going to open a whatever.
I think a feasibility study is what any responsible business owner is going to do. And a responsible business owner is going to do a feasibility study between opening a location in Fort Smith and opening a location in Greenwood, and look like they're being
Which is
taxed.
why they
Yeah.
won't put some of the restaurants we want out here on the highway.
Right.
They don't have the traffic count.
Yeah, exactly. But there are smaller, I've been in real estate for 17 years, there's smaller versions, there's packaged versions of these restaurants that would readily open in Greenwood, aside from the distance and the taxation. So,
You know, out of the process, out of this, I guess we've been into this 4 months now, you and Mr. McKinney are the only ones that have ever brought up the taxation part. I really thought that when I put it in, that would be the immediate concern, was the taxation part. And it hasn't. I've really had no negative commentary outside of just some individuals. but
I
no
have
group.
had from commercial developers, so.
My issue is the legality of your tax rates, not the rates. That's a different discussion.
Yeah, and I feel solid on the legality.
I think,
And I will clear it up.
I think the deterrent she's speaking of, and it has nothing to do with alcohol, but Rod, if you wanted to go up and buy a brand new Platinum Escalade, and Ford Chevrolet was selling it for 92, but we could go up to Fayetteville, 49 miles up the road, and get it for 83. We're going to go to Fayetteville. And so basically that's what she's trying to say is it's not that we can't afford to spend 28% tax, but unfortunately we're going to get a better deal. We're going to go to Fort Smith. And I think I speak for the community and I speak for the board when I say this. We want to keep our money here. And that's what we want to do. Rod, I read people real well, and you love this city, okay? You love this community. I watched you go toe-to-toe with Sonny last month. The fact that you didn't want to give up that 10 feet because you wanted to see the money come in just in case there was a possibility that we needed that 10 feet. Rod and everybody on that board, I was the only one that probably agreed with you, okay?
So the rest of them voted for it, and I voted against it, so.
Well, no, I agree with
I've
you.
been there.
I think we should have kept it 10 feet. And so, that being said, the 28% probably is a little steep. I believe it should be taxed right. I believe we should look at the fact that calculate how much somebody would spend in fuel to get there, break all that down, and calculate it that way. I believe it should be taxed higher. We do bring something, the Greenwood brings something, we have a better community, we need to spend money here. It does need to be higher, but let's not make it so high that we force somebody to drive to Fort Smith. Let's keep the money here. That's what this is about, is keeping the money here, building our community, building our sidewalks, buying new fire trucks, just doing everything that we have to do. People move here for a reason, and I love this community. I was a poor kid, homeless 3 years. When I was able to bring my kids somewhere and let them go to school in one place, their whole school system, it was awesome for me. I know you're about to move towards mine, so I'll just go ahead and get right on that, and I'm pretty sure she's done. I just would contract the property right in smack middle of Greenwood at 1.3 acres. I want to put a movie theater there, okay? Rod, I can't afford to put a movie theater there. If I go out and spend $1.2 million on a piece of property and build another building, okay? I can't afford to do it, okay? Rod, I set aside to invest about $12 to $14 million over the next 10 years in the city of Greenwood, okay? I'd like to do that, but it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth being told no in my first business. I'm not trying to be rude to you, I'll be as respectful as I can. I need this to happen for other businesses. Let's do this together, but like you said, do it the right way. And if the state thought for any reason that a restaurant that sold beer could not be next to a church with a few feet, brother, I know you know they would have done it. Legislation would have changed. It would have been fixed, but they didn't. And I think they're intelligent enough to make the right decision. I think there's probably guys like you that are up at the state building that make the right decisions. And I think that you're making the right decision, but on the 2,000 feet, I believe we're making the wrong decision. Even the 1,500 feet, I believe is the wrong decision. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, let me, and I speak highly when I say this, let me invest my money that I worked a long time to get. Let me invest my money in the city of Greenwood. And I ask you kindly to remove that 2,000 feet, remove the feet totally, put a conditional use into place where if I don't operate my business correctly, and in 12 months tell me no, and do that to every business that wants to come in here and wants to sell beer at a private club until the day that does come when they voted for just to be out to drink or whatever they want to call it.
The footage keeps coming up, so we
I
already.
want to clarify this 28%.
Okay.
That's if it were at the state max, right?
She's saying.
If the state was charging 14 and the city was charging 14, the state's not charging 14.
Correct?
So the 28% is not really what it is.
She's adding, our city sales and use tax to that.
Yes.
So, yes. So right now, if you go and you buy a taco at La Fiesta, it's gonna cost you 11.78. Right, Charlotte?
No, it's 10.75.
10.5%.
Yeah, 10.5%.
It's 10.5%, so it's just
10.5%, 10.5. So you buy a taco and a margarita, it's gonna cost you 10.5 plus 14.
Plus whatever the state tax is.
So 24.
24 cents. So
City tax is on top of
yes,
the current
the,
city.
the state tax, so,
Well, that's what I'm saying, the taco's 10.5%, and the margarita
it's gonna add 14% to it.
10%.
Now it's 14.
That's 14 is a mixed rate. No, not like
What I'm asking is that not 14 and the taco's 10.5? Are you telling me
No,
it's
and I'm telling
24 and a
you-
half?
I'm telling you that margarita's gonna cost you 24% tax. And look,
Because margaritas also.
well, no,
that's
so
all.
the next time you buy one in Fort Smith, look at it, we can break it down.
But I think
Except for
that
their
you're
tax
saying-
is 5%.
Yeah, it's
Rather
just a
than
little,
additional
it'd be a little less in Fort Smith.
All right, I just want to understand what we're saying.
And if you tried to apply that tax rate to another kind of business in this town, you would run into some major problems.
And that, I think,
T-shirt show.
I'm kind of neutral on what the tax rate is, other than make sure it matches with whatever the state permits. But there is always the discussion of taxes, so do you make the most money out of charging the highest tax rates from a few sales, or do you do it by a lower tax? I mean, we just went through this in December with Congress and so on. So that, I have my own opinion on that, that's a discussion the council should have, but
And I think that we are talking about a few sales. What we're really interested in is the restaurants and selling the food, and the food with the A&P tax. So we're gonna make more money off the food than we'd ever dream about making
Well, we
off.
really want
me,
the
that
Western
argues-
sizzling that won't come for the last 15 years.
Is the A&P tax maxed out?
No, no. The A&P tax, the state max for A&P would be 3%. Well, okay, let me clarify. So the
We'll make more
A&P
of
tax is
the other
1%, but hotel and motel is 3%. So we are maxed on hotel and motel,
Which we don't have,
which we don't have,
but we're not on food, which we do have.
but we're not on food.
Why?
Well, because I just felt like that was the document that I presented, A&P, y'all were there.
Where are we
Anna
at?
was gone,
Where are we at on that A&P percentage?
1%.
What's the max?
1%.
What's the max?
Max is
3%.
yeah, just like the
Third. I think this place to start with these two taxes, I think. Third.
You increase the A&P tax by allowing alcohol sales, because the facts are, someone's going to drive to Diesel Brady's or wherever and buy a beer and just hypothetically say, Dad wants a beer, Mama doesn't, kids don't.
I'd rather do that. I'd rather increase the A&P tax and lower these two.
Right, and the bill's $72.
There'll be a lot more food and
We
stuff.
would make more money. We would definitely make more money.
And I have a suggestion from the city point of view. You've got the ordinance, all needs work on, clean up and so on. This whole tax discussion is kind of a separate tax where you have that discussion of where the proper rates are and so on within the maxes set by the state. Coming in, that's a-
And then if you lower these taxes, it's less like a deterrent. You raise your A&P tax, you get restaurants in, and then you have revenue.
I just, the problem with raising the A&P tax
Hurt the pizza bars.
is it's kind of a regressive tax.
Any sales tax is progressive.
Well, but even worse, I mean, you don't have to have that margarita in that beer. But there are people coming from a ball game and they need to stop by La Fiesta and get some tacos and stuff for their kids and get their kids fed and get them home and do homework and go to bed. I really would rather not increase the burden on those families. I would rather the burden be on the guy that wanted to buy the margarita.
I said that's.
So it's a
discussion you
deterrent.
have.
I guess you could say any tax is a deterrent. What tax would not be a deterrent?
One that wasn't the max state and double what a city 7 miles from here charges.
We'll go to the distance. Now that's the big one. Are you all ready? Okay, I've got everything except for the distance. We're going to start talking about the distance now. All right. So I provided council with, I don't know, Tammy, if you wouldn't mind making like 4 copies, I think there's probably 4 people that'd like to see this out there. Dustin, did you have yours?
You have mine. I look on the next thing.
Need to look on plans. No, Tammy's probably just the top page.
Let me see it.
We are
I'm trying to run it bad.
does the press have?
Yeah, we're good.
Would
You
y'all
guys
like
have
one?
Please.
It's happening.
One more for the president.
Press for
Just the
the press
just
for
the-
sure.
Right, we already dealt with that. All right. So if you look, I've got it in colors. Black schools, bluish churches, orange are youth, purples AA and assisted living. I've said that, this has been said at 2,000. I intended to show an alternative of 1,500, and I didn't have time.
Yeah, that's what I'd be interested in seeing, also one with a 1,500, maybe 1,000, just some different scenarios, but this is 2,000 circles, right?
This is at 2,000. I think you could cut, if you can envision cutting the circle down in half, I mean, that's your 1,000. You can see even at 2,000, there are a lot of areas. So, coming down 10 here in the heart of town, anything from Mazzio's Pizza all the way down to the Green Caboose would be smooth sailing.
You have lots of churches left off here.
Have I left off lots of churches? What have I left off?
First Baptist is within 2,000 feet of Avenue.
Yeah. Nothing can go in the square between First Baptist and Church Christ here. You left off the Church of the Nazarene, you left off the Pentecostal Church.
Hold on. Church of the Nazarene's out on Excelsior Road.
Or you left off the Assembly of God and Missionary Baptist Church on Highway 10.
The Missionary Baptist I've left off. And where's the Assembly of God?
It's next door to the Missionary Baptist.
Okay.
So
That fills in everything.
That's your two blue circles, right? On 10 Spur out there by Napa, that's what we're talking about?
He's talking about, go down West Elm. If you draw a
Yeah,
circle,
there's two right here, yeah.
Here's Google Earth. That's Google Earth.
now this circle's wrong.
Church of Christ.
That is not in the city limits.
It doesn't, the state law doesn't say anything about city limits.
This state law, we're talking about local law.
Do you say city limits? Is any church on the city limits in your ordinance?
You know, we're talking about city limits. They don't afford our protection.
We only control the city limits.
Yeah,
we don't control the city
The state
limits.
law says 1,000 feet from any church, period. It doesn't make the statement.
You're confusing,
Outside the city
you're
limits.
confusing that with
That's for a
their
liquor store.
liquor stores.
Yeah.
This is a different legislation.
So you have no trouble putting a liquor establishment next door to a church that just happens to be outside the city limits.
Right, they do not afford our protection. We're protecting everybody inside the city.
And you need to change your language and to say churches and all those things within the city limits.
Our ordinances are only for big things in the city.
Our ordinances
Yeah.
only apply to city limits.
To that private club wanting to locate in the city limits.
Well, the private club cannot operate outside the city limits.
No, but if there's a church just outside the city limits.
They do not afford our protection.
I would advise you to put that in there because you see now any church within 2,000 feet
So
of any church.
you think we need to put any church within the city limits
And all those other facilities.
and all those other facilities?
Yeah. Because as you read it now, it says any church.
But all of our ordinances state.
Only would apply to private club located within the city limits, yes.
Okay.
But how do I know when we're reading that?
All right, so what do y'all think? We go back in the document.
We got an example, you got an example of churches.
I mean, the only time that turn into a problem, like the church out on Key.
That's what he's referring to as down Nazarene, Lazy D's. Or
Yeah.
was it Lazy D's that burned down?
Yeah.
There's a church right there.
Takes up to 10.
That church is not, we're not protecting that church. They're not in the city limits.
Valley View is not in the city limits.
Right.
Right. No, a better example is the Nazarene Church, right, on 10.
Yep.
The city limits is right there, pretty close.
I'm not fighting with you, just right.
The sign is, we annexed all that.
We go always in.
Well, the clear reading of it now is any
Yes,
church
we annexed all
We
that.
go all the
Where
way,
do you move your signs?
I agree.
on the north side.
All this is city limits now.
yeah, on the
north
north,
side.
All
On the south side though.
on the south side, it stops at the Swept Hill Road.
Right. So what I'm saying is,
When I go to
there's
the
the South Church,
Yeah.
and there's the circle.
The only area.
Budget.
I don't know how you get your 2,000 feet versus my 2,000 feet. My 2,000 feet look different from your 2,000.
Well, we're trying to discuss it, not just work and make it off the line.
Well, I use this scale right here that's on Google.
Yeah. Well, we're using different things.
We're using different what?
I'm assuming the other.
Yeah, but this is 2,000 feet. And those are 2,000 foot circles. So the entire highway corridor is open.
Well, Well, you did 2,000 feet circle, 2,000 feet diameter, 2,000 feet radius. It's 2,000 feet radius, within 2,000 feet of the church. Is that
Okay,
2,000
speaking of that,
radius?
Rod, I want to clarify that it's property boundary to property boundary. We talked about that a few months back, and we settled on the building.
We want to keep it.
I want to be consistent with the state, that's property line to property line. Whatever feet this ends up being, I want to be
When we
property.
do property line, the schools are off a little bit. The schools are not, have so many property. So the black circles are off a little bit. Churches will be pretty close. Churches don't have that much property.
So you need to
If
double
you
the
did
size of your
1,000-foot
circles.
circles, your circles are that size.
Yes, they are.
If you did 1,000 feet.
No, I think they're 2,000 feet. That's 2,000 feet.
For your circle, that's a diameter. We're talking about 2,000 feet. Alex,
So you're saying my diameter is really 4,000 feet?
your diameter is 4,000 feet, your radius is 2,000. That's this line here, and around. Your circles are half size. Which I go back again,
It's a ball size.
there's no commercial properties
Need a 2,000-foot pad.
available.
I've got your other copy.
Round circles are half size.
So if we made it 1,000,
According to this scale here, we're at 2,000 foot is one.
Yeah,
This one is that's 2,000
Your
foot.
chart right here, you'd have, would be 1,000. Correct, 1,000.
Oh, this is right.
so if we got,
4,000 feet, that's 2,000 feet.
1,000.
so if we make it 1,000 foot radius, this is correct.
Well, I'm showing 1,000.
You show 1,000-foot radius.
Yeah, I'm showing my map show 2,000.
And it should be noted too, that there are city councils that are dealing with these same types of ordinances who started at 1,000 feet, who are now taking it down to 300, and I can get you a list of those.
I think we started 300.
So Mr. McKinney,
So it would be.
you're saying that we need to, where it says school, church, daycare, youth activity organizations, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, meeting places, dependency centers, within the city limits.
If that's your intent, clear intent, yes. Because now I read, it reads clearly, any.
Okay, council.
Of course, your point is the fact that the city
Section
ordinance.
4.
It only applies to the city.
Right.
So if you go to section
Only
4,
applies to the private
Look at
property,
I.
city, not to the church.
I would like to add within city limits.
The ordinance only applies to the city, so.
And after dependency center, within the city limits.
I would also find you to define each of those terms you use, that you get rid of church, use place of worship. Church is defined in dictionaries as a place of Christian worship. But you need
You've got to be
to
really
define each
careful.
of these terms, so we know exactly what that is.
Now,
What terms are you talking about?
All those terms are limited, the dependency center, youth center.
You don't know what that is?
Daycare. For the law, I mean, what's a daycare?
Where kids go when their parents are at work?
What if there's a daycare that's within a home?
If I'm taking care of 3 kids in my house.
They pay a
daycare?
business privilege license here. If it's a daycare in a home, they should be on record as being a daycare.
Okay.
Not many bars in the subdivision, so they.
Should be, but I don't even know who got a daycare registered, what kind of licenses,
And
honestly.
that's why we need to define that. You know, what's the daycare out on South Coker, that's a daycare. We all agree with that.
Council, then
Keeping-
I'll provide a definition section when I come back. So I'll define all these, I'll define what an AA meeting place is and a Narcotics Anonymous meeting place is. And I'll define the daycare and I'll define the church, but you don't like church. You think it should be a
I like
place of
church.
worship.
You don't have anything in here, right, about that doesn't list the retirement or whatever.
I do, it's in
Assisted living.
assisted living. We didn't put
Is it on there?
No.
Well, I thought we added that.
I thought we did too.
All right.
Can I bring up the libertarian point of view? What businesses of the city to be protecting these places from someone down the street having a drink?
What business is it of the planning commission of protecting people from where they live? This is all the intent of the entire ordinance. You know, I like chickens, and I don't have a problem with chicken, but I don't want a poultry processing plant across from your house. You don't want one.
But we allow them in the city.
But we allow poultry, there's a place for a poultry processing plant, but First Baptist Church, when they swing their doors open on Sunday, they don't want to be looking at alcohol signs and a place selling alcohol. But I think that there's a place for them within the city.
And do you see, to that point, when you open those doors of First Baptist Church, if you open those doors of First Baptist Church and you're outside of Chili's, do you see an alcohol sign? Or you're outside of Olive Garden, do you see an alcohol sign? The signage is not on the outside of these buildings. So, again, this looks like, and I'm from here, so my mother may roll over in her grave when I say this, but this looks like a really small town attempt to keep any kind of growth out, to keep, it just stinks of being a deterrent, every bit of it.
I think that the biggest objection, like you said, Rod, which makes sense, and I get it, you know, who wants to walk out the church and see beer signs everywhere, but just at my restaurant, I mean, that's where this all came from. The aesthetics of the outside of my restaurant aren't changing. It's just like a restaurant. I don't know if y'all been in there lately, but there's popping beers left and right in there, and we're selling them at $2.95 a pop. Unfortunately, they're non-alcoholics. You're not getting a dime from them. And so we're selling beer there now. Nobody's saying nothing. It's non-alcoholic, so I'm making $3 a pop off non-alcoholic beer, and you aren't marking a dime.
My church in Fort Smith is across the street from a barbecue place that sells
And
alcohol and a package store.
And that may be here too. We're not protecting any future businesses, future churches. We're just protecting what's here with this right now.
My church has been there 50+ years.
You know, if the poultry process.
I don't know what business we have protecting church, nor what business the state does, but that's where this came from.
But it didn't, because the state does not have.
But the language the state has about liquor stores and churches and schools and all that, and I understand that, but I'm telling you, that's where this came from.
Right, and if the state intended to prevent and to set up a prohibition on distance for a restaurant that serves alcohol, then they would have put it in the state law. They did not.
Did they forbid the city from doing it?
No.
Let's back up to the distance. If you call it 1,000 feet radius, it matches what I provided. There's a lot of opportunities. The entire Highway 71 corridor is open. Would y'all like to less than that?
What's the state? Now, let me.
Zero. I'm not for zero, because there again, I'm for protecting, people that have been here for 150, 200 years. I'm protecting their property. Just like I would protect your property if a poultry processing plant wanted to go over and build on the vacant lot across from Oak Street. I don't want to do that to Tim Terry. And I also don't want to put a restaurant that's selling alcohol right across the street from First Baptist Church or whoever doesn't, whatever one of these organizations don't want. So I'm not for zero. I'm not necessarily for 1,000 feet. Is there something less?
Chili.
There's 1,000. The entire highway corridor is open. You can, there are places on Center Street.
Can I ask something? If there's a business, private club business that pursued downtown sales on the square, off the square, we've talked about this before, we're getting hopefully our square, I'm not necessarily talking about alcohol, but to liven our square with businesses that open past 5 o'clock in the evening and everything. And this is not a pro or con, but it's a question of, if there's a restaurant, and it could be Josh's, or it could be Chili's, or anybody else that is just it's a restaurant, and it looks like a restaurant from the outside, and they don't, and I know we have our side ordinances, you guys may have said that when I was in another conversation or something, but, so we govern that anyway, outside signs and signage and all that. If the doors, and I go to First Baptist, you all know that, but if First Baptist is sitting across the street from Olive Garden, for instance, is that, and this is just a question to you, I'm not against you on it, that's what I'm just asking, is that offensive?
I think that falls under without prior approval from the city council. And I would really like to leave that in I, because I think that there's somebody at some point that may pop up. And-
No.
Is it-
I don't think it has anything to do personally, in my opinion. It doesn't have anything to do with walking out the door. I go to the church right across the road from where Mr. Knowles' restaurant is. It's not about me walking out the door and what I see when I'm walking.
Knowing that it's open.
So the point is, what exactly are you protecting them from when you're instituting these huge distances that essentially cut out a huge portion of the commercial property that would be available? Not only that, there's commercial property available, but that would be favorable, that someone would want to actually come in and put a business in. The other thing is the assisted living centers, they have alcohol, so what are you protecting them from? The people that live in assisted living can bring in alcohol and drink it all day long. On their own.
Daniel, I have a question, and it's really good to hear the heart of that church. 'Cause I mean, honestly, a lot of that stems from there. If it's not offensive when we walk out the door or we drive out the driveway and see game day across the street, and I wouldn't think it would be offensive because there's nothing offensively about the outside of the building. And we're looking to approve this on the third reading and put it at a feet matter, if it's 500 feet or 2,000 feet or whatever the feet is. So what physically is the offense to Northside Church of Christ? Having it across the street from where it's at, because it's not a visual when I come out the driveway, because I pulled in off the parking lot because I was concerned.
I don't think, number one, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the Northside Church.
Speak on behalf of yourself, though.
But I don't think that anyone's offended. I don't think anyone's concerned with any of this, is what they see when they walk out the door.
Okay.
I mean, that's Rod's statement, and he's free to have that statement.
Sure.
That's, in my mind, not the problem.
And if it's the fact
I
that
think if you went back to the beginnings of the states, and if you go look at the state regulations, there's a lot. I mean, it's obvious that, regulations for a barber shop aren't much. When you get to.
Well, I think
You might be, there are quite a few, but there's a lot of regulations.
Sure.
For obvious reasons, I mean, people say there's no big deal. Well, the state wrote them, but my opinion, and I have done, my opinion, is the state wrote those regulations 1,000 feet from a church or a school because of the association of children or whoever's there.
but that
I
is.
don't know. I don't know why that is. But,
And I understand, and so it's not offensive to you, I get it, I'm with you, it's not offensive to me either. So if it's not offensive to you, and we're gonna approve this on the third reading, to have the ability to have a private club here on such and such designated feet, okay? But it's not offensive to you, Northside Church of Christ, or offensive to you that goes there, then I would say it's not offensive to 98% of people that go to church. Then I don't think it needs to be feet at all, unless it's referencing to a public school or the boys club. That I get, which I would.
I think, I don't know, to me, again, my opinion, just talking off the cuff.
Sure.
Is, I think the feet is a limiting factor. I mean, you say that like that's the worst evil thing, but I think that's where that comes from.
Well, the problem with what you're saying.
If there's no limitation, you could put these things at every lot all the way down the street.
I think there needs to be limitation, but I think there needs to be limitation in reference to a school district, in reference to our children, which once again outlines the boys club. But as far as limitation, and I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody wherever you go to church, but as far as limitations next to a church, when it's next to a restaurant, the aesthetics on the outside doesn't change. There's no beer signs, we can put that in the ordinance that you're never allowed to have beer signs. I think we're moving in the right direction.
I think it's similar in my mind to planning regulations and zoning regulations of industrial, commercial, and residential, where the idea is to not have, all of this industrial right in the middle of residential, and to try to have these breaks with light commercial and those kind of
That
things.
makes sense. So let's keep it 300. So let's keep it 500 feet from residential. Let's keep keep it 1,500 feet from the school. You know, let's put the feet into place, but let's not let.
Just a second, because I want to make sure that you're all clear that the state, and you're saying the state, and you're looking at it as 1,000 feet, but the state put the 1,000 feet in from liquor
For a
stores,
liquor store.
not from a restaurant.
I know that.
And
Yes.
then there's no, at all, there's no state law at all regarding a restriction on the distance, no prohibition on any kind of distance from anything. So, I just want to make sure that when you're saying that, I understand that, and I understand what you're saying about that. But I think that, I mean,
Let me
that.
point out two things, if I could. One, your point on zoning is excellent, and Rod, I suggest we need to put into the ordinance what zones these will be allowed into, like C1 and C2, and go ahead and put that into your ordinance, because that's what will come in front of the planning commission.
Well, you know,
When all of the dust settles, I think what you're getting
when we
at.
started this process, that's what I tried to do, and the planning director didn't want to have any part of it.
Well, we bring in front of the commission, but it needs to be quite C1 and C2. Just
Well,
before we
that would be a planning function.
But it'd be good to have it in the ordinance now, because we know then what the council wants.
Right.
The second point is on the issue of churches being offended or schools or so on. Remember, we are talking about private clubs, and these people are having to come in front of you to get the city's permission, the council's permission, which will be an open hearing process where people will have a chance to come out and say their objection. So it'll be, in many ways, what we do with variances in the zoning, our zoning ordinances. If someone wanting to build something within 10 feet of something else, we have public hearings on it. We look at the unique situation of that and make rulings, individual rulings on them. You will have a chance as a council to hear the people for each one of these locations, the neighbors, property owners, whoever, coming in and talking, explaining to you why they think this is wrong to go in this particular neighborhood or in this particular location. On that, without having to do a blanket, absolutely no, never in this situation, because, you know, I can tell you, my dream someday here is to be able to walk down from my house to the square, have a good Italian meal, and have some red wine with it on the square. That's my dream.
Mr. McKinney, that's our, that's our intent without prior approval from the city council.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give them the best scenario. When a guy comes in, if Sean Lynn, if this ordinance passes, Sean Lynn goes over, reads the ordinance, he knows, man, I'm groovy. I can go in and I'm selling sake, and I'm gonna come ask for a permit, and it's smooth sailing.
But it says
But anybody less than that, if that Italian restaurant wants to move into the square, and they come before the council.
But they'll never come before the council,
Yeah.
because it says 1,000 feet. There's no.
It says 1,000 feet without prior approval from council. There's a comma, without prior approval from
But
city
then it looks
council.
like arbitrary designation of permits.
There
Everything.
is some
But all private clubs are without the prior approval of the council.
I know the
And
city.
that's kind of confusing.
Everybody has to come before us anyway.
Yeah.
We're just laying out the best likely scenario of them getting approved. So,
But
if you
I think,
know,
to go back to Andrea's question earlier, what is your intent? What's the purpose? I think it has, it's about dispersing these businesses, that's the right way to say that, you know, so that, you know, a church and a school are these foundational elements of a community, typically, that, you know, if you didn't have anything in any regulation, you could go boom, 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 just line them up down Highway 10 or wherever.
You could, if there was commercial property available there.
Sure.
The other thing that's a cornerstone of a community is the square. And where your square sits, with this designation, you can't put anything on it.
yeah, sure you can.
You can put anything on it that's alcohol.
And there you go, you can put anything.
And you're talking about people can't start a business here, people can't do anything on the square. Yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of businesses in this town.
But that's not what we're here for today.
Yeah, but I mean, there's hundreds of businesses. Don't say we can't open business, don't say we're not gonna grow. This does limit certain growth. But Greenwood's grown from 1,200 people when I was born here, or less, to 10,000 pretty much today. So don't say we can't grow without alcohol.
And how much of that growth has been in the last 10 years?
2,000 or whatever, and we can have great schools. Well, of course they have alcohol, compare our schools versus theirs.
I mean,
Kids go to school, I have no arguments about it.
I think that our growth is here, in reference to our business growth, it's not here. We should all just take a look at our coffee shop that just closed. It closed for a reason. They couldn't afford to stay open. Okay, so as far as business growth, the business growth is not here. Your population growth is here, and that's fantastic. But your business growth is not here, and it will continue not to be here.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I don't want to agree with that totally. I mean,
That's
yes,
what I was told.
Yes, we lost a very
Wonderful
viable,
coffee shop.
nice coffee shop we did, but we have, it's not, Casey's is coming to town, and there's some issues still with them, so Casey's coming to town. Taco Bell just completely remodeled, they lost their KFC, but things are not decreasing business-wise. I would disagree with that. I mean, yes, you're gonna lose, sir.
Job house closed.
Job house closed, and we hate that, but there are
It's
other.
because every morning people roll out of Greenwood and they go to Fort Smith and they get what they need on the way there. And on their way home, they stop and eat, or they have their families come and eat in Fort Smith if they want to have a drink. And not just because if they want to have a drink, that's not the whole point. The whole point is you're limiting yourself on the variety that you can offer the town. If you limit yourself on who can come in based on whether or not they have alcohol, and these packaged restaurants that are going up all over the place, and the Square is a perfect example of where it would go, is a Friday's package restaurant, is a Chili's package restaurant. It's a smaller concept, it's a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot restaurant. It's just scaled down based on what your city has to offer. And yes, they serve alcohol, and if they don't come here. So then you've limited what you can offer people, so they're going to drive to Fort Smith, and that's where your revenue is going to go. And that's not the only argument, it's not the only basis. But when you start limiting that, then you start limiting your growth as well.
I was going to ask you, how many of you been to Bentonville in the last 4 years since they went wet? The Square in Bentonville is a fantastic turnaround.
We can't make the county a wet. That's not our
I know, but I'm talking about the attitude here from going in, that, I mean, and that's where Greenwood is losing young people to. We're
And
losing
you know,
young
I mean,
people.
if y'all want that, your efforts should go somewhere else. And go get the county and put a referendum on the ballot. It's not here.
No, but again, our state liquor laws that create, we have to have 38% of the registered voters sign that ballot.
Well, sounds like you've got to start. So,
That took a Sam Walton grandson to front the $5 million to get Benton County to go with. That's what we need.
hey, let me ask you a question on the zoning that was brought up. These businesses would only exist in C1 anyway, right?
C2 highway, maybe C3, I mean, that's.
In commercial.
Commercial
Right.
district,
So we don't have to say that.
yeah. It would be helpful to put it into your ordinance on that, and maybe.
Because your privilege license as a
Maybe
business.
limit it to C1 and C, I would limit it to C1 and C2. C1 is the Square, C2 is the highway.
so you want us to refer to the zoning requirement in here to see it can be placed in C2 and C1?
C1 and C2.
Well, guess what I'm asking you is, alcohol notwithstanding, does your current zoning and permitting regulations already cover that?
That's weekend for private club, for nonprofit private club.
If somebody came in here and said, I want to open a restaurant.
Yeah, that would apply, but we're talking private clubs now, so for nonprofit, like,
But they basically have to be a restaurant to be a private club.
VFW could ask for private license.
Okay,
Any
that's
social
pretty good.
organization could. So that's why I would recommend, those could go into any neighborhood.
Now, a private club still has to have, they have to serve 54% food, whatever. And so your VFW is not, unless they're serving food.
So let's say start serving food, and they do in some areas, do that.
Well, then, you know,
Social clubs do that. So-
A private club does have to sell 54% food.
right, they have to sell.
So it's basically a restaurant.
Right.
It's a restaurant.
That's probably the purpose.
That's what we're doing.
License with the restaurant. Mr., and I've got,
Which restaurants would be zoned, whether we
This
refer
is-
to them or not.
this has been very civil, and I appreciate it.
A really private club created by a social organization would not come under our commercial guidelines. you're thinking that it's a restaurant because it sells 54. But the VFW, and you look at some of these towns around there, you
But
have
those
VFW.
people could apply for a private club through the state, right?
Yes, they can.
If they don't sell food,
No, if they do, but all they have to do is sell food. That's,
the 54%.
yeah. that's
Let's
not
talk
a
about
big deal.
the commercial designation. So the zoning is the issue.
Is it Mr. Burgess? Is that-
Yeah, that's me.
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask a question. We started, I talked to you last time, what's the distance is gonna be? You said 2,000. Well, this gentleman right here is the one that's requesting to be selling alcohol in his store. Restaurant, whatever. What is it to get him, I don't wanna be, say he's special, but 500 feet won't allow him to have alcohol in his store or his restaurant.
Without prior council approval.
And that, and I understand everything Rob's doing, I could still, even if they said 500 or 1,000, would have the opportunity to go towards the planning commission
Yes, sir.
and ask for a variance. So I don't think Rob's trying to be difficult. I think he's just trying to be analytical. So I understand that. But 300 feet is where I'm at from Northside Church of Christ. That being said, for more of my, actually it's a little more, 300 feet. The city of Fort Smith did a conditional use hearing, or the conditional use permits. It is 300 feet they require, and they require that you send letters to everybody within 300 feet. And they pretty much, what they say is after 300 feet, that it's really not an eyesore, it's really not a problem to another business or residential or whatever. And so it's 300 feet. So in my personal opinion, and I'm not saying that because I am within 300 feet of it, I'm saying because it makes sense. The city of Fort Smith, they did it for a reason. It makes sense to them. They are a bigger city than we are, so they're steps ahead of us in so many ways. So to me, it makes sense for it to be at 300 feet, which covers a lot. I don't think the zoning of C3 makes sense because of Westwood, I believe that is C3 zoning. So if we allowed it to be in C3 zoning, then we allow them to mount it next to Westwood. So I believe that it needs to be within 300 feet. That, to me, that makes sense. But Rod, whatever you want to do, I support you.
I vote for 1,000 or 2,000.
Unfortunately,
I'm not gonna vote.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Unfortunately, this has to do with my business, and guys, I'm making money down the road. I am, and it's wonderful seeing everybody come in and make comments like, "Thank God we don't have to drive to Fort Smith," and everybody dagging bragging on Bang Bang Tacos. It's wonderful. It really is. Look, see Handy's face? Yeah, he knows all about it. It's wonderful to see that within our community. And we want to see more things like that. I know we do. 300 feet is a great number. Rod, if you say 1,000 and everybody agrees with it, it is what it is. But 300 feet makes sense. So let's put some feet to it. Let's get everybody home. Everybody's tired. I know we're all pissed off because we missed the daggone ball game. But 300 feet is a great number. And let's just move forward.
All right, council, on I.
The wording on this, by the way, and I know this is a liquor store,
There's no reason.
Absolutely has nothing to do.
nearest property line point to the nearest property line point, which is what we discussed a while back.
And where did we put that in there?
We're looking on I, where it says building to building.
I's got building to building.
Okay.
It gives
I
them
feel like building to
this
building.
corner or that corner, or the front door, or the
Main
middle,
entrance.
or whatever.
Be the main entrance.
The property up in the restaurant at Little Rock, they had a problem with it, and so they literally flipped the door around the
They
back
moved the
side.
door.
Yeah, they moved
That's
the door to the
what's
back
gonna
side of the
happen.
building.
You gotta say property line to property line.
And I promise you, there's nobody going in the back of that place.
It's obvious to see a building, hard to see a property line.
And that, it says.
Yeah, but you just heard what you just said, that's what'll happen.
Okay, council, I want to change this 2,000 to 1,000, and I want to make a motion to table it with the changes for 30 days. And I'm tabling it with the changes, I'm going to take the change document and again, take it to the municipal league.
Question, there was discussion, do you want the building left in right now?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you want,
No.
at the end, do you want in the
Air
city-
balls.
in the city limits, at the end of all those places?
Right, I thought we'd already caught that,
I
right
did
into the
confirm
dependency
that.
center.
In the city limits, things?
Yeah, within the city limits.
Okay.
Mr. McKinney would like to clarify.
Okay, let me, because this is what we're getting into. Mr. Niles is a good example. Building to building.
That's why we've got.
There's his building, you know where his door is.
It's not door to door, it's building to building.
Okay, so you're talking about the
The edge of
Yes,
January.
so I'm saying, it's a long building.
Is it his
I'm
premises
thinking
only?
His building, no.
What he leases only,
Right.
not
There you
yours,
go, that's what
David's?
you're getting into. I mean, if you, you know, the village, I call it, which hasn't been called the village. Me and you, Mr. McKinney, know what I'm talking about. That's a big, long building. And somebody rents the one where Alice's Diner used to be, okay?
Right.
Was it that door, or is it that end of the building, or that end of the building? or
No,
what?
it's not the
That's why they
shopping
went
center.
property
It's
line
saying-
to property
It's
line.
saying the business, we're talking about the business, we're not talking about
So
the
closest
facility that
corner
they're
of
in.
that
Sure
facility
you are.
within a bigger.
No, it says
But
businesses,
so Daniel, the
that's
problem with
serving
property
alcohol.
line is whose property line is it? Is it the leased space property line? And how do you determine that's a property line if the entire,
In,
wait a second, if the entire building sits on a piece of property and they're only leasing this corner and you get, it's a 20-foot or 34-foot or 50-foot reach. And if you go building to building to their leased property and they're outside of the feet, but if you go property line to property line and it includes the entire property line where the entire building sits, then you have denied them, and that's,
And it works on the other end too. Did you say church building, looking at First Baptist?
yeah.
Which one of First Baptist buildings are we leasing? Every one of them, at the corner of every building?
Sure.
So the state went into that, and if somebody wants to look it up, I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, but we need
But
to
the
explain
state went into that with
it.
trying to describe that, what you're saying. If it's a leased, space, how that relates to that building,
I think
that
that's-
property. I don't know what it says sitting here right now. You need to look that up.
We'll try to
But
clarify.
the state addressed that with, you know what I mean? Because Mr. McKinney's point is very valid. I mean, which Baptist church building are we talking about? Which Methodist church building are you talking about? You know, it's a long ways from
Almost all churches.
Well, but I think, okay, I guess we need to define that, but I still say it's, you know.
But I think the state did a pretty good job, what I read, of how they described it. Now, I can't remember all that, but it got into that, you know, because you're not talking about a freestanding building.
You know where you
on-
found it?
Yeah, it's on the ABC deal, which Mr. McKinney,
I've got the here, it's now, I can read it.
How's that? It says much, but here's the deal.
Any business located within 1,000 feet of any church or school property line.
Hang on a minute. Here's the deal. There's a reason why when you start trying to supersede state law, that's what you get into. I can tell you, they've tried to figure this out, that's why it's zero. Because they can't figure it out. Because somewhere along the line, somebody's gonna beat it, I can promise you. They're gonna move that door, or they're gonna move that building, or they're gonna add eave, or they're gonna move an air conditioner 10 foot. I mean, they're gonna beat it. I'm telling you, that's why the state law is what it is.
They may beat it 100 feet or 50 feet, but they're not gonna beat it
But
hundreds of feet.
Well, let me point, Bentonville, when they went wet, they came out with one regulation, and last year they replaced with regulations saying, we follow the ABC rules, whatever those are. There are no additional city requirements in the city of Bentonville for liquor now over what's in the state. They got tired of trying to enforce it.
Because they went, liquor by the drink.
By the drink.
And so, that's the whole, we're just discussing private
Okay, well, I'm
clubs.
talking about in terms of this issue of how to add it on to the state law. Bentonville went through and said, whatever the state, if the state permits it, it's okay with the city of Bentonville. Period. And that's what their law says.
And I think we'll cross that bridge when, you know, when the whole, because then the citizens will have voted on whether or not to.
But
you know,
it's still
whether
an
or
issue
not.
here with the private clubs. You're adding on a number of requirements over and beyond what the state requires for private clubs.
Because.
That may be a good and necessary discussion that we're having, but we need to realize we're having that discussion. that there is an alternative. It says, if the state permits it, the city of Greenwood is okay. Is another alternative.
That is. But we can always, we can't lessen state law, but we can always make it more restrictive.
You can.
And we do that, and that's our purpose.
Now-
That's your purpose on the planning commission.
Well, but now
You could
puts you
just
into-
dissolve everything, and let everybody do what they wanted to do, as long as they met state law, but that doesn't make any sense. That's not how organized communities grow.
But we have a long series, well, actually, in state law, we have all these things. We don't add anything on to state law. We simply apply it to our particular area. But we don't add additional requirements or hoops to state law. And the planning commission, come and look at it. We have put on the map what's there, but we have not added restrictions over and beyond what the state allows, or what the state has in the law, state law. But, I mean, you're going to be enforcing all these things that you're writing. And that's another good question. Chief, what enforce?
What does the
Who's
planning
going to be
commission,
measuring it?
when they do a variance, what are they doing a variance against?
And there are city ordinances.
The city ordinance.
Yeah.
And so this
Which
is
are
an
implemented in the
ordinance,
state
which
requirement.
means that later on, if somebody wants to try to address it and have a variance against that, they can certainly try that. We're not prohibiting that at all. We're just trying to establish an ordinance so that we can say, here's what is established, and from here we're gonna go forward. You know, and it might be variances down the road to the point that we say, okay, we're going to, shrink it from either 2,000 to 1,000, 1,000 down to 300 or whatever. But we're starting out with, this is where we're at. And I think, again, we've got to start at some point. Up to this point, we had no variance because we didn't have to have one. Now we're going to have one. And I think we're doing it as best as we can to represent the constituents that have spoken to us. And I think that until then, until the citizens as a whole vote for, either to be wet or to be dry, this is what we have to, operate in.
But how does it, if we do 1,000 feet, then Sean, it's okay for Sean to sell it, but it's not okay for me to sell it.
Without prior council approval.
Right, and the facts are, Sean's a good guy, and I don't think there's no reason that Sean don't know. And so he'd be allowed to sell it, but I can't sell it. And the facts are, we're here.
Without prior council approval.
Well, we started at 2,000, only got lowered because you were asking for it to be lowered, so I mean, we can put it back at 2,000 and we'd all be happy then.
Yeah, Chef, I believe we're trying to
What's your motion?
You have a motion, because way later he seconded it, but I.
Tim seconded
I seconded it.
He did.
Call for a vote. Let's wait about a minute.
Okay, so you, go ahead, do it again,
Yeah, do the order.
please.
I wanted to change the language from 2,000 to 1,000.
Okay.
And we clarified adding within the city limits
Yes.
down there. Okay, and I wanted to make a motion to table it for 30 days.
Okay, and I also added assisted living to that list of places. We gotta say that. There's other changes.
So you're making a motion to table it 30 days with changes.
With changes, because I want Charlotte to provide me the change documents so I can.
We're also to rework section 4A.
What's your feeling with 500 feet? Well, I got a feeling you're gonna get some heat on that when we go to vote for the third reading next month.
Well, let's deal with it at third reading.
Okay.
I still, it doesn't change the fact of what the Don Zimmerman Municipal League will tell me.
Right.
That figured that what I'm after is the language.
What is Conway's? Is theirs 2,000?
Conway's is 0.
I think most places in the state are for private clubs, not for liquor establishments.
20 to 7.
Woo!
Thanks, I was gonna watch it when I get home.
Let's move on, because it's late.
I got a motion
Oh, I second.
and a second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? That's it.
Thank you. Moving on. Number 2 on your list, but it's actually number 3.
We can call them as they
Let's just do that. Number 2, planning and building ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance, number 13-10, commercial guidelines, third reading.
Okay, Sonny's not here, but he couldn't be here. Planning commission did not meet, therefore they didn't review it, so it's up to you now.
So it's tabled until the next meeting?
No,
Do that.
it's on for third reading right now. We're asking what you want.
Charlie, you didn't include a copy.
I didn't.
I haven't seen it.
It's the very same as it was last time y'all had it. Nobody's changed anything.
Since the last one.
Y'all did all those changes and then wanted the planning commission to look at your changes. But they have not looked at it.
They did not look at it, because they did not.
I think they looked at it.
Right, that's why I didn't even mess with
They
it.
didn't meet.
Canceled or just.
3 months?
No, since the last meeting, when we made
Well,
changes.
this is the last meeting, they did not.
Right.
We made changes in the December meeting, more than the planning commission to look over, them. They didn't meet.
We didn't meet in this.
Right. So they haven't.
That just since the last.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we table it.
Second.
Planning commission.
Motion and second to table.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? And
Item number 3 is bonding of city sales and use tax, and we were under the impression that David Mann's attorney, bond attorney, is going to be here tonight to answer questions, please. I mean,
I don't mind talking.
yeah, I mean, why don't you, and then I'll follow up with a call also. I mean, he literally spoke to me, I mean, we expected him here, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You did
I've
too, didn't you?
asked him two times.
Yeah.
It's included in
You
email.
didn't call and say you wasn't coming?
No,
That's kind of rude.
National championship happened.
maybe the national
I'm
championship.
pretty sure we're paying them.
Well, he was gonna do this without a charge.
Do it as a favor.
Yeah. So I guess if you, maybe all of us reach out, see what's going on. Okay? Number
But he
4.
has had some conversation with myself and Mayor.
Yes. And I'm asking, we've all kind of asked him some scattered questions, if you will.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're gonna figure something out. We're on.
Yeah.
I'll make sure he's here.
Okay.
We have to go get him or something.
Yeah. I'll buy him something or something.
Okay. Number 4. Sir?
Fine, we're here.
Wow. Number 4, ordinance repealing, replacing mobile food vendor ordinance number 17-03. I'm gonna let Charlotte probably take this one just for fun, but we still are attempting, you guys put this ordinance in place. I think we found an issue. I say that we, Charlotte found an issue of how we charge these folks on these permits. Is that
Yep.
fair to say?
First of all, I did repeal and replace just in the standard fashion that we've done them recently instead of doing the amendment because we know how we feel about amendments and are many and varied over time and then we have 12 ordinances. Okay. So there's the explanation for that. The Beef Brady's folks came and they came to my office and pointed out that in our existing ordinance, and you can see where it's highlighted on page 2, that is the only change to this that's being proposed. Striking out what that says there and say shall obtain a, because it was as if, and it currently is, that if they just sit there in one spot, remember they just come to Greenwood and sit in one spot, say on a property owner's parking lot, they don't have to obtain a solicitor's permit. However, we have had all of them so far obtain one. And so it is true that it says if you're found selling products in more than one registered location. Well, I mean, they don't have to get a solicitor's permit. And is that your wishes, to keep it like that, or to require them to get a solicitor's permit? Because I will say that that does factor in for them, because solicitor's permit for a 1-year permit is $250. And they want to make sure that that's going to make money, when they come and sell, and then not out money, just for the chance to come down and do that. So if we changed it where it says shall obtain a solicitor's permit, all of the mobile food vendors, because I don't see how we can keep up with their locations over time. I mean, that's just too hard to do. So just have them pay the solicitor's permit, or change it
It
somehow.
just goes into the database that on January the 9th, Beef Brady's bought a $250 solicitor's permit and it'll be due again in 2019. Wherever they're parked in the city limits.
Right. They move around.
Why are we striking the, must renew their calendar year? Shouldn't you start that if they move around?
Where is it?
It says in addition to the annual business license. That's the very last sentence, I think it says the same thing.
While we're thinking, which you also,
Gives you just like,
Yeah, I think that's too much striking in. I think it needs to start at if is found selling products.
I believe the first sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
Strike the second.
Yeah, I think that's probably incorrect, yeah. I think it's not intended.
And then, wait, mobile food vendors must renew their business license every calendar year and shall obtain a solicitor's permit. That's mandated by the city. Right?
So if you feel that they should have solicitor's permits, then we should change that, because right now it just says if they sit in one spot, they don't get to get one, basically.
So does that mean you're getting a solicitor's permit in addition to
To a business license, yes.
yeah, that's just,
Because a business license is for everyone.
that's $25 annual.
That's a separate ordinance and a separate thing. That's so we know who owns those businesses and keep track of them.
And,
That's just $25.
and like I said earlier tonight, I think on one interview or something, that this is, we're trying to, I mean, I think you guys are, we want these businesses here. We think it's good. I mean, it's very popular right now. Hopefully it stays and lasts and making sure everybody's on the same page. And Mr. Derrick is right. We have to make sure that the 2 or 3 that we have, they pay this permit or this solicitor's license. And just because, you know, typically when you see these things set up, they go somewhere and they find a good home, whether it's a city property, which I still intend to somehow pursue that. I think that's a good idea for the city to have some property that we can put this on. Or that they have wheels on them and they can go, and they're mobile, that's the whole point. So whether they do or not is up to them once they purchase it, but it allows them to go move somewhere else.
We would rather they move around than such stationary,
Well,
I would think.
to a degree, yeah. I mean, like Zuki out here, who is kind of permanent in the sense that that's where everybody knows they are. But if during the festival, they want to move up to Bell Park or down on the square, they have that right to do. Of course, that's different because we don't charge permit for that. But yeah, absolutely, we want them to be able to.
So are they paying the solicitors and the business privileges?
Yes.
Just don't run them off.
Okay, there's 2 more points to just consider. Our actual solicitor's permit ordinance that's revised in 2015, there's a couple of items on there that let's be clear about, because I have people ask me, what about this? Well, the Schwann's track, for instance, it exempts them because they're called upon by the private residents to come to their house. Therefore, they're not like the ones that sit out there, everybody comes to them. Okay, so there's the answer on that if you're asked. And then a person using a roadside stand on the same site as an established business owned or operated by the same person. So if Joshua Niles wanted to set a little truck outside his restaurant or another business that he owns the business and he owns the little vendor deal, he's exempt from a solicitor's permit. But if somebody that owns a business calls someone from Fort Smith and says, I want you to come down here with your food truck and sell on my lot, they still have to get a solicitor's permit, according to the way we have it right now. And are you good with that? Because I've been asked about that.
I mean, I guess my question would be, why would the pizza bar want to put a pizza truck out front?
Well, the better example is just somebody that owns a non-food business.
Like that little tamale wagon that's,
Yeah.
that's a place of
Okay.
He gives us a list.
You're saying a non-food business wants to put up a little.
Right. They might want to
vendor
attract
truck.
business to their place.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to be selling it.
Since
They'd
they
have to be
own
selling
that
it.
and it's on their property, they don't have to pay the solicitor's fee. That's the way it is written now.
They have to own both the
Yeah,
vendor
right.
and their property.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have to be food selling food, the food is, like you just said, it could be the barber shop wanting to
Just a
sell
complex
tacos.
of the business, strip mall thing.
Because it's the ownership of the property.
Just because that owner invited them down as an exemption, they have to own both of those to exempt. That's the way it's written right now. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it is confusing. But do you want it to keep it this way? Because if you didn't have it that way, then almost any mobile food vendor could say, hey, I've got permission to sell on this land and get out of paying the solicitor's permit. That's why it's important. Okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure we're all good with that.
Good with that.
So that the council, the laws behind me when I have to explain to them.
So we're saying they have to obtain a solicitor's permit.
Not if they own the property.
And own the
And own the vendor.
Okay, and
If
on the
it's a property owner inviting someone else to come in, then that person they invited has to buy a solicitor.
Yes.
But if they own both, they don't have to.
Like if Bulldog Auto wanted to put a barbecue shack in his parking lot and
That's
sell
right.
barbecue, he would be exempt from the shop.
Yep.
Don't mess with this. He would be exempt from the 250 solicitor's license.
Okay.
Right, still have to buy the $25.
Unless he moved his truck somewhere else.
That's right. Then he becomes a mobile.
Yeah, unless he moves it somewhere else, then.
So if we're good with that change,
Solicitor's
that's
permit.
proposed there on the repeal, replace, then we should be in agreement with our solicitor permit ordinance and our mobile food vendor so far. No one else has pointed out any kind of inconsistencies.
And that's been a big deal. I mean, that's been an issue in a lot of places. We're going to order enforcement just now, and I think finally got theirs in order, so it's, you want those folks in your city, so it's good.
And you're saying every year they have to renew the solicitor's permit.
Okay.
Now that, I need to make a motion that we adopt the changes.
Yeah, and it's emergency clause because we've had the issue, we have the issue currently. It really needs to be passed now because it's really out of line with our solicitor's permit. So I'm asking that it be passed under emergency clause.
There's a motion discussed right now.
All right,
First reading by title only.
I make the motion that we adopt the ordinance with its changes, first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 17-03, regulating the operation of mobile food vendors / mobile vendors, concession trailers, fishing parks, in the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, requiring a permit, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Make a motion to suspend the rules, waive second, third reading.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Make the motion we adopt.
Second.
Excuse me, motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel? Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Make a motion to enact emergency clause.
Motion and second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 5, call on Mr. Marsh, Sheriff Police resolution setting up restricted accounts for cops, kids, and Christmas program, or chief, or a combination.
The police department had obtained funds for a Cops, Kids, and Christmas, which basically is where the children of the city of Greenwood that have been identified shop with the police officers through the holidays. There are restricted donations that come in specific to that. And right now, the money that the state legislative auditors came in and found that the money was originally being housed and maintained solely within the police department, and they wanted it inside the city coffers rather than handled outside of the unrecognized fund on our books. So we have deposited that money into the general fund because that's where the police department's funds reside. We are now establishing a resolution asking to have that restricted specifically for those donations intent, which is to be used solely for the Cops, Kids, and Christmas designation. And we've established, or are trying to establish an account 11145 as a restricted asset on the books, specifically called Donations for Cops, Kids, and Christmas. And that's what this first resolution does, is establishes a restriction for that fund within the general fund.
I'll make a motion, we pass this resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is second to pass resolution.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next resolution is because there was an expenditure for this year's Cops, Kids, and Christmas. It was $3,500 of the $5,000 that was already obtained and deposited. We have a resolution here to use that funds to the expense to account 65,700, which was set up for PR, Cops, Kids, and Christmas, which is the expense side of where the monies that are restricted are being used from on our books. And this just establishes the recognition of the $3,500 that was paid from general fund checking, specifically now being attributed to the PR, Cops, Kids, and Christmas expense side of the transaction. That's what this is to, so you recognize that.
I make that motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion is second to
I
adopt.
got a question.
Yes, sir.
City amends the city budget police fund to establish increase in line item 65,760. So that's an existing one. The other one you had in the previous one, the 11,
That's the asset, the cash account.
okay, the
That's where the
11145.
money was deposited.
Okay.
It's all with, it's a virtual account. It's not a real account.
I don't say
It's all
so.
under general.
All right. Gotcha. Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Motion is second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 7 on your new business is resolution adopting temporary budget. This is something typically done every year, and as we talk about this real, or however long it takes, then we definitely want to set up some, hopefully, council, get some dates set for budget study sessions for the remainder of those departments, so we can move forward and get this thing taken care of by February, before February's meeting. So you have the resolution in front of you too.
You have to do it before February first.
Right, I'm sorry, I said the meeting, right, February 1st.
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution for temporary budget.
Second. Have a motion and second to adopt the resolution.
Just a second, Missy.
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell? Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you. I think we have the departments separated and who's gonna be when, or who's gonna be
The next,
Certain
the
date.
next budget session, sorry, is police, fire, and planning,
Okay,
followed by parks, general, and A&P.
so what's
What's your pleasure?
good for council, yeah? What-
That's the only two we have left. We just need two more to,
2 meetings,
per se.
correct. And I'm assuming taco soup's probably guaranteed for at least one of those, and then maybe,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I wrote police, fire, planning, and then,
Parks, general, and A&P. And that's gonna be the longer one because of general. Encompasses a lot of the police, fire, and planning.
What's the proposal?
Tuesday the 16th is a great day.
Tuesday the 16th.
of January.
Is there any council meetings there?
No. It's a parks commission meeting of the day. Nothing. Want to do it?
Tuesday 16th,
What time?
We're talking about police, fire, and planning?
right?
Okay. 5:30 or 5?
Well, huh?
I vote 5:30.
Council, 5:30, 16th, very good.
Yes.
16th or 5:30?
Like I said, I'll be here like a big year. I mean, I'm not, this month's crazy.
Did I say taco soup?
Yeah.
16th.
Yes.
5:30. Okay.
I'm gone the rest of this week, and then I'll be gone the next week, and so, I mean, it's not gonna be good for me at all.
When's the municipal league deal start?
This week.
This week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Which we need to clarify that on too, because you're one.
What did it do?
Yeah.
What nights, good, full table, is that Friday?
Yeah. Well, no,
I
no.
don't think it is.
Friday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's the opening, the dinner.
Okay, we'll get on that second. Let's do the second meeting time date.
Oh, yeah.
So Parks General and A&P on another date.
going
This
the
week?
19th, and I really want to be there for the general one and the AMP one, so can you not make it the 18th or 19th, please?
Make it 18.
I've got to go through. Sorry,
Said that.
What about the 22nd? Monday the 22nd?
23rd?
23rd, no, that's
No.
our meeting night.
No. What about the 22nd?
22nd is water, wastewater.
Which you can still do, and they can meet in the other room, you know, other room if you need to.
Okay. Is that okay?
Two places at one time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's real hard for us financial people to kind of do both, but.
What about
Thursday,
Thursday, the
can you be in
25th?
the budget session?
Yeah,
Study.
that'd be priority.
Water, wastewater, what do you?
I like the 25th too, Thursday.
The 25th? I'm okay with the 25th.
Same time?
I can't do Tuesdays and Fridays, I was out.
Thursday, 25th?
Same time, 5:30?
Yeah.
5:30.
Taco soup both nights?
No, remember, I think I was gonna do chili on.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
let's do chili.
Okay.
That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, right.
Budget meeting at 5:30, we can Thursday the 25th.
The last one, too, is pretty good.
5:30 again?
Yeah, you can do
That's
that.
a special call.
Yeah, you have to do it after your study session.
I think go ahead and do that now, too.
You just have to do it before, once you have 2 hours before the meeting.
I mean, what time though, if you,
Yeah,
you gonna do it at 9 PM or?
What?
We have to call a special call meeting to approve the budget once we.
He was wanting to do that maybe after the study session, and everybody's arrived at it, you're already
What's
there,
the-
simple.
What's the deadline in the February?
One, the
I
next
can't
week.
wait till that meeting day, you have to do it.
I mean, we can do it the next week.
Yeah.
That's just one more meeting to come to, which would be short.
Let me know who that is.
You've already mentioned.
I would rather we do it like on Tuesday or something, the 30th.
Okay.
Because if we're gonna, you know there's gonna be a bunch of changes.
Yeah, give me time to
Give
do
you time to
that.
put
That's
that
right.
all in and print it out.
Let me see if the final one.
You can give us a final copy and we vote.
With the
I agree.
Stage.
That was
So,
good, that was good. So the 30th, Tuesday, the 30th?
You remember when Doug said we have done the first meeting?
Yeah.
It's campaign problem.
what I meant was my secretary.
First or something.
Do you wanna do it right at 5? Anybody do it
Didn't I say
right at 5?
that?
9:30. Let's keep them all 5:30.
5:30.
5:30?
Tuesday the 30th, 5:30.
That is an actual special call meeting.
And that's,
I did say that, didn't I? I did put it in at least 1 year.
Yeah, there's no. So 5:30 for that special call meeting on January 3rd.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I put that as station.
I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I won't be there the 30th. And we're at Clarksville, basketball, high school. And it's a radio guy.
31st, that's pretty close, that's getting close.
What is it? What was wrong Monday the 29th?
My dad's birthday. He's gonna be here.
29th, 30th, 31st. Let's see here.
I mean, I could be, I just can't be here on Tuesday for sure. Any other days, fine.
Well, somebody did have a
Monday's fine.
I'll probably
29th,
forget
so-
it anyway, so it don't matter.
No. Monday 29th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them this month is terrible, so.
Special session,
You'll see it, see it.
29th, what time?
5:30.
So we're saying the 29th instead of the 30th?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, I'm not sure I can hold it.
Okay, then, council, or, we just believe, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think we're trying to get a.
Opening night banquet is,
Who is registered though? You have to be registered.
everybody up there is registered except for Mike and Lee. Everybody else is
Could
registered.
you send us like a schedule? Do we have a schedule?
There's an app.
There's an app. Just
Oh, I know what
anybody
There's an
knows.
app for that.
Can somebody just send me an itinerary?
Sure.
Yeah. So what time on that Wednesday night, Tammy?
It's Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30, exhibit hall B.
I mean, it starts earlier in the day.
Oh, yeah.
But-
the
Yeah,
whole
it
thing
starts at 3 PM
Yeah.
with resolving conflicts within your departments.
Right.
Open and not banquet is at 7 p.m. Exhibit will be
Okay. Can everybody make that? That'd be great.
At 7, you say?
7 o'clock p.m.
Not doing it.
7, 7.
Yeah, you have your own, we'll leave for you. Okay. Okay, moving on, number 8 is the resolution adopting 2018 procedural rules. And I know there was an issue earlier in the meeting.
Oh, it was just the part about who can put something on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Once in a while.
Charlotte said we left her out.
Where is that? Department Heads Commissioner?
She's saying we left her out on A5.
A5.
So where do we need to
Mayor,
put?
City Attorney, City Council, Department Head, or?
City Mayor,
No, I'll just put Thomas City Clerk in there.
After
Attorney.
Attorney? Okay. Is that good?
No, you don't want to do that because it says they will provide the city clerk's office with the title of the matter.
Well, I still
Because they're going
do.
to say the city clerk provides the city clerk.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, you are saying that. Mayor, the City Attorney, or
I mean, any matter presented to the city clerk's office later than that.
yeah, I could say may.
I mean, you're dealing with the grand football, the whole deal here. Because it all comes to you.
It goes without saying.
It just
Well,
doesn't say
it
that
says
she
the office
can't.
of the title, is provide the city clerk office with the title
I mean, you said they
You want
didn't
to-
bring it to the city clerk.
If you want at the very end, it can say the city clerk may add to the agenda.
Having an office, you could, an office with or the city clerk. the title.
I mean, you can have it if you want, that's what they said.
I'd say don't put it in there, just say city clerk after city attorney.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
You want me to add that? Okay. Otherwise, I didn't change a thing. I guess we like the way we're doing it now, Wednesdays, mailing the packet out, feel like that. It seems like we are adding less. Sometimes we have more on the agenda at the meeting.
We have in here that or does it even come under something like this, where the nonprofits are doing their report? Is that in here?
Yes, that's under A2.
A2, Department Heads, Commissioner, Representative.
They just haven't been showing up
Right.
to the meeting.
Well, that was kind of not a request, but because I got an email from Denise with SRCA, seeing if there was anything more that they needed to do. And she was under the impression that, I mean, she knew Lisa wasn't coming to every meeting, but she understood that that was at our, I mean, not request that she wouldn't hear, but she didn't have to unless, as long as it was a written.
It says you meet meetings quarterly every calendar
Is that
quarter.
what it is?
And
Okay.
that's what's not
A2, they should be every March, June, September, December.
That part hasn't been fulfilled.
Okay.
That's what we
It
agreed.
is in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A2,
It's in
there's
the.
5, A2.
Okay.
report.
Okay, so I'll pass that
Hear
here.
from them once a quarter.
Yeah, I'll pass that on back to her, so,
Yeah.
okay, so nothing needs to be changed.
Once every 3 months, you're
Right, yeah. Okay,
And it could be February, March, May,
September and December.
yeah, it says right there, okay.
It could be any kind of quarter, at least come in and say hi.
Yep. Okay, I did not know that was there. In other words, only 3 people critically are supposed to speak on a system form. Total 15 minutes
On the subject.
on that subject.
Do you want it to be 5?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Says each individual
No,
be
no.
limited to 5 minutes.
No, that's what I'm saying, but a total of 15.
well, we
In other
can-
words- In other words, 3 per
You want to
subject.
strike that out?
I'm not looking at any particular, just, no, I'm just, that didn't sound
That's
good.
all I wanted to know.
We've never complied with that.
No.
Well, we're getting closer, we actually have a clock that we're,
Better.
yeah,
Well, the 3 people.
that's kind
Total
of,
15
that's
minutes per
kind of.
subject, does that need to be in there?
I don't think
I don't
so,
think so,
because,
I don't
I mean,
think we're gonna-
if you've got 5 people.
Seems that we
In other
start
words,
our meeting at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to enforce it?
Actually gone through this.
uh,
How are you going to enforce it for your person?
well, other than me just being a bad
Those
guy.
3 people with planning.
Yeah,
Where am I seeing the 3 people at?
it's at the end of that. Well, it's total 15 minutes per subject is what I'm talking about. In other words, if you give everybody 5 minutes,
She was saying 3 people.
only 3 people can speak on the same subject.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that needs to be structured.
I'll do it.
okay.
Take that long to get the pitchforks in.
Okay, anything else on that document?
I don't see.
Make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
A motion and second to adopt?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Lister?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 9 is just me bringing back to you, we talked about, I meant to stick some picture of that, signing it in your packet, and I forgot about it, just to remind you what we're talking about. I talked, Acme Brick is now come, or I've contacted Acme Brick, and we have access to free donated brick for this sign that is to be placed out on Highway 10 Spur in 71. You know, I talked to you a while back that we have a permit, always have to give kudos to Tammy. She's very instrumental in talking and them into giving us. So we have this permit, it expires in March. So we have to get on the stick, if you will, and I'm going to get together with Mr. Wiley, Michael Lejeune, who directed the schematics of the sign, going to bring in Reagan Clemens, who has offered free labor, masonry labor. We do have free brick. It's still going to cost some money, obviously, so I wanted to kind of get with you, and what I'm going to do is come up with a number and put it in the budget for your discussion next week or the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be. But the idea is that, one time I was talking to Mr. Wiley about it, it's almost like, just pull back everything that can be free and put out for bid and see what it costs. But we can do that, but then we can take things out of it. So Michael suggested that once we sit down at the table and say, street department can do the leveling and the footing and all of that, there's that cost. We got free brick. I've got a gentleman out here that's looking at the steel work. I don't know that he's donating it, but take all those things out and then bid it per piece. Does that make sense? We're kind of the, what are you doing?
Yeah, we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. So anyway, I'll come back and I'll have some numbers for you later. So just want to remind you that we can get on it. So
Can you not just ask Miles, what do you think it hit, we put out the bid?
can I ask you?
Yeah, just ask him.
Oh, I can.
It'd be $12,000, let's put it in the budget.
Oh, 12? The sign at Bell Park was over $20,000.
I was gonna say 50.
This one is probably not twice that size, but it's very much bigger. I would be surprised if it didn't.
Well, get a price and let's put it in the budget, let's talk, discuss.
Okay, I'll do it. Right there by the parking.
Here's your challenge.
Okay.
Gary Campbell was gonna have that sign installed.
So was Ken Edwards. Yeah, go
We
ahead.
are.
Yep. We're done. We're done. We're done.
Get a price from Mike.
That would be, I could be the guy. Yep.
We have, let's back up here though, we have
Oh,
to
I
have
think
it
I got a
completed.
shot at favorite mayor to do it. Right.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
do we have to have
Don't count
this
it.
completed by March?
I'm sorry.
Does it have to be completed by March?
That's correct.
You do realize
Yes, sir.
it's
Anywhere.
Yep.
in the letter?
Yep.
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 And so,
Yep. Yep.
you do remember, yeah, that's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
Got to hurry.
We need to make an
us work 24 hours.
We need to make an appropriation and Michael needs to put it out, bid, get going
All
right
right.
away.
All right. I'll get you a number. I'll have you a number. Do you want it before the meeting?
We can't do bids, because it takes, where our bid process is, it's 30,
Yeah, that's
over,
correct.
you know,
It's 2
has
weeks.
to be open to the council meeting.
It'll be 2 weeks. You remember the date, March?
It's something I know a bit about.
I can go find it.
Yes.
I think it was 29th off the top of my head.
I can go
The end of March?
I think
We
it
could always
is.
request the extension on that.
There you go.
Well, no, but I just hate to, yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
We started on it,
it.
at least it'd be a big part of it.
I was really glad I didn't think
What,
that.
did we have a time frame we could have done this?
no, this is it. I just got notice of it. Quit picking on me, would you?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It was pretty much put on the burner for back burner, knowing that it was just no real good excuse. And as he pointed out, we could probably get an extension if we need to.
My thing is, someone just throw it up.
Design work's done.
Right?
All that part of it is
They're
finished.
still gonna throw it up.
No, and that's the reason I'm even hesitant just to say we'll do anything. No reflection on street department. I mean, I feel real confident we can, and I've talked about Michael with, you don't look good, you don't look like you have good news. 29th, oh, that's good. So,
I mean, putting it out for bid is gonna be virtually impossible to do. The time we advertise it, we legally have to advertise it for 2 weeks. So you lost 2 weeks there, then you get them in, you got them open up for the council meeting, while we've got our meal set, which sometimes.
uncalled meeting for that.
But still. But then you're
Hey,
gonna.
we got an eagle up in
That
Square in 2
bid
days.
tab though, it's gonna have to say, you're gonna have to be done by the 29th of March.
I think that,
Since can we say, yeah?
would you look at that and see if it says completed or started?
Since we're getting the bricks donated, can we somehow word it that we're waiving competitive bidding based on the labor?
It says it expires.
Just expires, period. Is that a way we can get it?
We can do something.
That's the real one, don't
Yeah, no, we got it.
We can wait based upon the expiration of the
Okay.
funds.
Oh, that's like you touched the originals.
I know she did.
I did not.
We have an agreement that I usually have to have gloves.
That's right.
And it doesn't go other side.
Yeah,
If
you,
it's started.
probably need to get hold of Michael tomorrow, if at all possible.
Well, he was gonna try to be here tonight and get it all kind of squared.
That's, I mean,
There's a location.
Oh, yeah, very sure.
There's a location. Okay, so I will, upon advisement from the city attorney, we'll get it.
you don't have, we don't have a render of what it was gonna look like. do we?
Oh, yeah. Would you mind?
Oh, my gosh.
Here it is.
What I'm just saying.
Oh, is it in there?
Yeah, we got it here.
Here it is. We're good.
I'm just trying to see what, I've never seen it.
That's not you. You don't remember?
Like it?
It's not in the shape of football.
We have,
We tried that.
So,
I got out there.
Looks like a goalpost.
At least we put the G over there like that.
I say we.
Which how Jerome fought.
Do we need to add it tonight, or could we add it to the
so we're gonna
16th
use brick instead of rock?
meeting?
No, it's both. It's right. The break is at the top, where the letters are, the bottom is rock.
You look at the house up there.
I've got very specific, bigger pictures.
It's
You
just
want me to go get the?
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yes. And there's no electricity, it's actually, we're either gonna do some solar or laser.
Put it next to one of the state streetlights.
Going green.
Actually, I
Could we vote
add
add it to our
That's what I
budget meeting,
say.
you know, have a little special call meeting at the beginning of
You
that?
laugh. I think that's why I got a permit.
So that we can move forward.
Yeah, there's nobody who's going
Okay. We might add it though tonight.
Can I vote against the Yopon Knowledge?
Actually, sure, you'd be fine. I thought y'all wanted to get this done.
We are wanting to get them.
I would appreciate something.
Get the signage done, okay?
We talked about that and we may not even, we're looking at this, well, we're not looking, it has to be as maintenance free as possible.
Let you make the profile look like that without the flower bed.
All the signs made out of metal, I guess? Painted, like it says three, number.
I've talked to locally, and just to say, hey, can you do this, because that logo, I mean, to me, it's all steel letters, plate.
Can you might not laser cut that out?
I would think so.
You talked to him about it?
He knows about
I would
it.
go signs, no planner, and that cuts down.
I don't know, somebody drive the program for us.
It cuts down maintenance.
He's got the. See the name?
You can drive the program.
Yeah, but it's just smaller.
Oh, really?
he has that deal on the heater.
Okay.
Mike's got that.
And you talk about the M1?
Yeah,
Radio.
but well, you know, there where the clock tower is and all
Yeah.
that stuff, is that gonna be painted, or is that gonna be, well, the bell tower?
City logo.
Oh,
The city
okay.
logo deal.
Okay. But that is to be, well, whatever,
But seriously, I don't mean to Monday morning quarterback this, but if we did just this sign part, minus this planter wall,
Have they already approved that?
it wouldn't look the same.
you'd have this,
You'd have a medium straight. Even if you didn't put even if you didn't landscape that, you'd have to see the full.
I'll get it.
you'd still have this profile, right, though?
Yeah.
I mean, when you looked at it.
Yes.
Minus the
Yes.
bushes sticking
Yeah, well, I thought you meant just put the part up that has the lettering and
up. Yeah.
the logo on here, so you're deleting the rock wall down in front?
Well, that rock wall would basically, I mean, it'd be a rock wall.
Okay.
It just wouldn't be a planter that's separated, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It goes all the way around, rock, but it's a lot less rock.
And what's the cost of it?
We don't know.
That would be a
Because
lot
we have to put up
less.
bid.
That'd save a lot of money and time.
Yeah, well,
You don't have to maintain.
let me get with Michael tomorrow and get you a new rendering. If we can, wait for better bidding, put it on the agenda for the study session
On the 16th.
on the 16th. Can we vote to do that? Like that?
Do you want to add that to the
Yes.
special,
Well,
special call meeting?
Or how long it take you to get some
Yeah, that-
bids on it?
Michael didn't seem to think
Okay,
long
do you want
because,
that to be a bid opening as well?
sure.
You have to get on it quick.
If you did that just as a wall,
I mean, it's over
Well,
2 weeks away.
profile
It's
of
over 2
something.
weeks
It's on
away.
the way.
And even as people put those metal
Okay,
colored bricks
you
in
want to
there.
put that on there? Ordinance to waive competitive bidding
Yes.
and
And,
acceptance of contract. Allow mayor to enter into contract. Okay, but we, as long as we can put everything that's going on there, yeah, you just can't add things.
Yeah, just make those like little 6-inch ledges.
yeah, instead of a wide bed, I see what's going on.
In fact,
You want to, you must know, we picked out, we have a list this long and that wide of things you can't plant in the state of right away, so
well, I also told them we wanted weeding, love, grass.
we let them know, we picked out 2 or 3 that we,
So, yeah, they know it's amazing. But Michael and I talked about weeding and planting.
I thought so.
Putting the ledge.
Okay.
making it.
I thought so, I thought I remember, yeah, because you were looking at it that way, that's exactly how
Chief
it
would like
looked.
to see those, so you could
Chief was not, he's not privy to this sort of thing.
It's a bad one.
Okay, we're adding, do we need to vote on that?
No, you do not need to vote on it, but you, so everybody knows, we've got 3 items on the next special call meeting. Bid opening, if there's bids, or waiving competitive bidding, and enter into contract for that time.
Do it all done that one night.
It'll already be in your budget too, by the way.
Good.
Which special call meeting?
The one for adopting the budget, that same night. Yeah, so 3 things will be on your,
All right, Tammy, I'm laying this back on your capable hand. If you'll,
Transition that now.
not yet, I know, everybody's looking, here you go, there you go, handing it off. Would you remind me to call Michael? Okay. That'll work out better. All right, number 10, municipal league resolution on opioid.
Yeah, what is that?
That is,
Mark Hayes.
Mark Hayes, thank you, called, and I was out of the office and talked to Charlotte and Kenny, and they both heard it. I read it, I get it a little bit, maybe not much as I should,
this cover letter explains it.
but it's in there, yeah.
It appears,
Mark.
I looked at it, and it appears to me that they're just asking the city to participate, it appears to have a chance of getting some funds back. I don't see anywhere in here that we're obligating ourselves to pay for any cost of litigation.
And he said no.
Doesn't cost us anything,
I don't see
doesn't say anything.
anything but win-win.
Right, motion to approve that resolution.
There's a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 11 is water wastewater audits. We had our exit, that's what it's called, right? Exit meeting the other night.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
This is,
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
and then, Tom, did you want to? He's just here to answer questions, right?
They're just looking at it.
Just looking at it.
No.
I'll just go to the front where it says they like it or not, and I don't really care what numbers are.
Oh, good. So then we'll just go to page 1, which basically says that the opinion is unqualified, which is good.
Right.
Probably one of the best ones you can get. That just means they didn't have any disagreements with management. They didn't have any adverse findings or anything that they said was alleged errors or omissions. They did have some issues with 2 letters that they gave us. I don't know if that's been included or not.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay. The first would be the internal control issues that they identified, segregation of duties being one.
Every year since I've
We
been
were
here.
small
Never
shop.
represented the city in 30 years.
I would argue to them, and they're very rigid on this, but anytime you have a segregation of duty issue, you look at mitigating controls, they tend not to. They tend to want to force you into a box. And that's going to be something that as long as we can argue that we have mitigating controls, we should be okay with it. And you're not going to force any issue on that. One of the things that they did harp on a little bit was prior year audit adjustments. We were not done last year from the audit previous year. So this year we've kind of doubled up on them. I do have all of the audit adjustments that have been recommended. There are 35 of them, 34 of them, 34 audit adjustments that I will be making. These will be done to bring us current up to 12/31/2016. And then I will take this and roll it through 2017, basically to make sure that our depreciation assets, our interests on the CDs and everything are rolled up current. There were $4,900,000 worth of adjustments being done in the 2-year period. We did ask them how much of that rolls down or falls to the bottom line. It's $200,000. Just so you know, and it isn't adverse, it's negative. Most of the adjustments are depreciation related, so they're not cash position impact. So you're looking at most of the dollar amounts that are in there are non-cash related. The other thing that he pointed out to us, if you look at a combined statement on page 15 of the actual audit itself, that's a combined water sewer. It kind of shows you the statement or the condition of both the water and the sewer fund. The water fund, if you look at the operating income loss, was $172,000, and yet we were always touting that water was actually making money, and it's on the books, it's not. And then the sewer was actually $22,000, which is good. But you have to look at where the assets are held and what the depreciation impact is. And depreciation, if you look up, is $429,000. And that's a non-cash item. So that's why you're looking at a loss in the water side, but it's not coming from your cash position. And your cash position remains stable. It remains very good, as a matter of fact. So you're healthy from a cash perspective. The loss is shown, basically, it's a book loss, but it's more because of the amounts of the depreciation and amortization on the books. So it is a healthy position. Don't let that panic you as far as how that is looking. Cash position can be found on page 7. That's one of the things that he wanted to point out was you really look at the cash position from operations, not from your investment strategies or the other. But the cash position from operating expense was good. It was very healthy. So that's your operating management, the position of cash from there. One of the things that he also gave us was a letter that stipulates a little bit about some of the challenges in the audit, the difficulties encountered in performing the audit. One of the things was the uncorrected misstatements that was rolling forward. It took a little bit of work between Charlotte and myself and, Bill Boyd, who did the audit, actually working through some of the documents that we provided. I mentioned to you way earlier that one of the things we found was that the beginning balances for the assets were not rolled forward for the water sewer. That was because when the conversion was done, they held those back in the conversion on the CenterPoint system. We had to get those balances to them so that they could even begin the audit on the asset side. That caused a little bit of a delay, a lot of a delay actually, in getting the audit done. And there was an additional fee as far as that's concerned. It wasn't too much, it was about $1,800 more for the time that was expended in the delay and what work you had to do as a result of the numbers we gave you. So I guess the bottom line is it's a very good audit. The information has been sent to the bond holders. And as far as I'm concerned, this will be a thing of the past. You will not have a third year of these not being recorded. They're going to be recorded right away. So.
I think that was like a perfect summary of this audit. That's just like.
Like you're the financial director.
It sounds good.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, questions on that? All right. Yeah.
So thorough, no need?
Yes. Thank you, Tom. I believe, if my calculations are correct, we are at the end of our agenda. New business, I believe. So department reports and questions from council. I think we have, Nathan came back. I saw you sneaking out. I thought I saw you sneaking out. Simon, do you have something you want to bring?
While Simon's coming up here, I want to personally thank him. I fielded phone calls from everybody from my daughter to old people. And the stoplight on Denver and Center Street was acting up badly. And so I texted Simon. He immediately got back to me in the morning early and said it was in the fault, yada yada, and got it fixed. So I just appreciate him being diligent.
Pretty quick one.
What I need to talk to you all today about is bridges. I'm sorry, I'm kind of tired of here. This morning, pretty tired too. So the Arkansas DOT went through and did some more bridge inspections of bridges that we have here in town. And I've got some deficiency reports. One of the deficiency reports I am actually familiar with because we just got it before I started here. It's about the paint on the South Dakota Bridge. I'm still waiting on Hawkins and Weir to get us a contract, if you will, to have that thing sandblasted and repainted. I haven't got it back yet for whatever reason. The other bridges that came up were a bridge on Whippoorwill, which has some surface cracking and some erosion problems. We pretty much have that bridge already fixed. The Stone Bridge Drive, there's a triple 90-inch barrel culvert that goes under Stone Bridge. It is rotted out. I've got to replace it, the whole thing. It's going to be very expensive. I don't know how much it's going to cost. We're going to try to do it in-house, but I'm going to probably end up having to put a box culvert in there, which I'll have to rent equipment to do that. It is what it is. It's not an old road. It should be in disrepair. I think they amended, but it used culverts in. Another bridge that hasn't made it to my desk yet, but I'm sure it probably will pretty soon, is the Meadow Bridge box culvert. When they built those, in order to install those boxes, they installed incorrectly sized boxes first off. The elevation of the bottom of them is not where it needs to be. They didn't space them out far enough. There's multiple issues. I think I can make it work. The wing walls are going to have to come off. We're going to start by rebuilding the wing walls and build them correctly so that they won't get undercut anymore. And then we're going to have to excavate out beside the boxes all the way down to the flow line and backfill with flowable select so we can get rid of those dips on the end. That road's going to give way for too much longer. We got to do something with it. It's going to be very expensive. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I don't have a cost on it yet.
When you say, what idea?
Yeah.
When you say very expensive, we're talking about 10 million or?
You know, like, expensive to me is like